Imagine walking into every room with confidence. Imagine speaking your mind without fear, setting boundaries without guilt, and carrying yourself in a way that makes people before ever disrespecting you again. But tell me the truth. How many times have you stayed silent just to avoid conflict? How many times have you let things slide, laughed off the insult, or swallowed your pride just to keep the peace? Think twice. The way you carry yourself teaches others how to treat you. If you move through the world with strength, self-respect, and clear standards, people will feel it. But if you let others cross the line, if you avoid standing your ground, you're giving them permission to treat you like you don't matter. Today, you're going to learn 25 powerful life lessons that will help you command respect without ever raising your voice. These aren't just ideas. They are real tools, mental, emotional, and practical habits that will change how people see you and how you see yourself. So get ready, because after this video, you won't just feel stronger, you'll be stronger. You won't just hope for respect, you'll earn it. Before we begin, I want you to make a promise to yourself. Write in the comments, "I know my worth." You're not just writing a sentence, you're reminding yourself of a truth that too many people forget. The more you say it, the more it becomes real. The more you believe it, the more the world will reflect it back to you. So write it down now, and let's begin. Number 1. Cultivate useful silence. Speak less. Say more with your silence. You weren't born to explain yourself to everyone. You weren't born to chase validation or fill every moment with words. Your silence is not emptiness. It's a sign of strength, self-respect, and control. Every time you speak, you give away a part of yourself, your emotions, your intentions, your weakness, your plan. And when you speak too much, when you speak too soon, you lose power without even knowing it. But when you are silent, truly silent, you stay unpredictable. You stay grounded. You stay in control. Look around you. The loudest people are usually the most insecure. They argue, they boast, they interrupt, they talk just to be seen. But the ones who stay calm, the ones who don't speak unless necessary, they carry a different kind of power. Their presence says more than their words ever could. Marcus Aurelius knew this. He ruled an empire and still understood the importance of holding his tongue. He once wrote, "The more we value things outside our control, the less control we have." That includes words. Because once your words are out, they no longer belong to you. They can be twisted, used, or thrown back at you. That's why useful silence matters. It's not about being quiet all the time. It's about choosing when to speak and why. It's about learning to pause before you answer, learning to observe before you react, learning to think before you respond. The next time someone disrespects you, don't jump to defend your pride. Don't match their energy. Don't let them pull you into their storm. Just pause. Let your silence speak for you. Let your calmness confuse them. Let them wonder what you're thinking, because in that moment, you have the power. And don't confuse silence with weakness. Weak people react. Strong people reflect. Silence gives you space to observe. It helps you read people. It helps you see through lies, flattery, manipulation, and games. While others talk themselves into trouble, your silence keeps you free. Practice this in conversations. You don't have to share your every thought. You don't have to respond to every question. Let people earn your words. Let them feel the weight of your voice when you finally speak. Be slow to anger, slow to react, slow to explain yourself. You don't owe everyone a reaction. You don't owe everyone access to your mind. Protect your peace by protecting your silence. And when you're alone, use that silence to build yourself. That quiet time is when your real strength grows. Sit in stillness. Reflect on your day. Think about what matters. Train your thoughts. Sharpen your mind. That's how warriors prepare for battle, not by shouting, but by listening to the silence within. You don't need to prove anything to anyone. You don't need to fight every battle. Sometimes your silence is the loudest response. Sometimes saying nothing is the most powerful move you can make. So when others get loud, stay silent. When the world gets noisy, step back. Listen, watch, learn. And when the time comes to speak, speak with purpose, not impulse. Speak with wisdom, not emotion. Remember this, useful silence is not the absence of strength. It is strength. It's discipline, it's control, it's self-respect, and the more you master it, the more powerful you become. So from now on, don't rush to speak, don't rush to prove. Let your silence do the heavy lifting. Let it remind people that your presence is enough. Because when you speak less, they listen more. And when you listen more, you win. Number 2, learn the art of withdrawing. Walk away, not out of fear, not out of weakness, but out of strength, clarity, and self-respect. You were not created to stay where you are not valued. You were not made to argue endlessly, to explain yourself to people who don't listen, or to fight for space in places that drain your spirit. You must learn the art of withdrawing. It's not about quitting. It's not about giving up. It's about knowing when your energy is being wasted and refusing to give it away. There are people who will try to pull you into chaos. They want your reaction. They feed off your emotions. But you don't owe them that. You don't need to stay in the room just to prove a point. You don't need to keep talking just to feel heard. The stronger move is often the quiet one. The move they didn't see coming, your absence. Withdrawing is a skill, one of the most powerful skills you can develop. It is the ability to remove yourself without warning, without drama, without revenge. Just silence, just distance, just gone. The person who knows when to leave is the person who understands their value. They don't stay where they are disrespected. They don't chase attention, beg for love, or argue for understanding. They let go, and in doing so, they rise. You must remember, not every battle is yours to fight. Not every insult needs a comeback. Not every disagreement needs to be solved. If you find yourself in a situation that brings more confusion than clarity, more pain than peace, it's time to step back. Distance gives you perspective. When you're inside the storm, everything feels personal. Everything feels urgent. But when you withdraw, when you give yourself space, you begin to see things clearly. You see who respects your silence. You see who notices your absence. You see who only wanted you close when it was convenient for them. Withdrawing doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you care about yourself enough to walk away from what isn't serving you. You don't yell. You don't explain. You don't need to, because you know what you bring, and you're not afraid to take it with you. People will test your patience. They will try to get under your skin. They will try to pull you into arguments that go nowhere. But if you take the bait, you lose your peace. If you stay, you lose your power. So don't. Stay calm, stay still, and then, when it's time, walk away. Let them feel your absence. Let them wonder. Let them talk. You don't owe them a response. Your silence is your message. Your distance is your statement. Use withdrawal not just in conflict, but in everyday life. Step back from things that distract you. Pull away from conversations that drain you. Unplug from noise. Protect your space, your focus, your energy. Don't give it away to everything and everyone. Even Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome, practiced the art of detachment. In the middle of politics, war, and pressure, he reminded himself to return to stillness, to retreat into his own mind, to withdraw from the noise of the world so he could return stronger. You are no different. You are not meant to be everywhere, for everyone, all the time. Know when to engage, know when to observe, and know when to walk away without a single word. Withdrawal is not weakness. It is power under control. It is the quiet confidence of someone who does not fear being alone. Someone who knows they don't need to be loud to be strong. Someone who knows when to let go. So next time you feel the need to argue, to defend, to stay longer than you should, remember this. The strongest one in the room is not always the one speaking. Sometimes it's the one who already left. Number 3. Your appearance is a statement of self-discipline. Look in the mirror, not out of vanity, but out of responsibility. The way you present yourself tells the world how seriously you take yourself. You don't need expensive clothes or a perfect body. What you need is effort, cleanliness, order, purpose. Because your appearance is not just about looks, it's a reflection of your discipline. Every day, people are making silent judgments. Before you speak, before you act, they look, they notice. Whether you like it or not, the way you carry yourself speaks. So ask yourself, what is it saying? When you walk out the door with messy clothes, poor posture, unkept hair, or tired eyes, you're sending a message. You're saying, I don't care. And if you don't care, why should anyone else? But when you take the time to clean up, to dress well, to hold your shoulders back and walk with purpose, you don't need to say a word. You show that you have standards. You show that you respect yourself. And people feel it. Marcus Aurelius didn't write about fashion, but he wrote about order, about discipline, about showing up each day ready to face what life demands, and part of that is taking care of the body and the space you live in. Your appearance is one of the few things completely under your control. You can't always control what happens around you, but you can control how you show up to meet it. A clean shirt, brushed teeth, trimmed nails, a fresh scent. It doesn't take money, it takes effort, it takes awareness, and most of all, it takes discipline. People respect what looks sharp, what feels intentional, not because it's fancy, but because it reflects effort. When you see someone who is neat, organized, and composed, you assume they've got it together. And many times, that assumption opens doors, at work, in relationships, in everyday life. But more important than what others think is what you feel. When you look good, you think clearer, you feel more capable, you carry yourself differently, you walk with more focus, more confidence, because your mind sees the outside as proof of what's happening inside. This is not about chasing perfection, it's about building habits. Keep your space clean, lay out your clothes, iron your shirt, fix your posture, groom yourself. These small things build a sense of order that carries into everything you do. Let others roll out of bed and stumble into the day. Let them make excuses, but not you. You're here to lead yourself, not follow the crowd. You're here to earn respect, not demand it. And that begins with how you show up. If you can't master yourself in the mirror, how will you master yourself in the world? How will you lead others? How will you handle pressure, conflict, chaos? Start with what you can control. Build from the outside in. Because when you wake up and demand more from yourself in the little things, the big things get easier. Every clean edge, every firm handshake, every polished detail, they add up. They build a message. I take myself seriously. I respect myself. I expect more. So remember this. Your appearance is your first statement. Make it count. Let the world see your discipline before they hear your words. Let them know without saying anything that you came prepared. You don't have to be perfect, but you must be intentional, because people may forget your words, but they will never forget how you made them feel, and your presence starts with how you present yourself. Look sharp, stand tall, be ready. Number 4, don't be predictable. If people can read you like a book, they can control you. If they always know what you're going to say, how you'll react, what move you'll make next, you've already lost the upper hand. Predictability makes you easy to manipulate, easy to dismiss, easy to forget. If you always react with anger, they'll press your buttons on purpose. If you always give in, they'll keep asking. If you always show up the same way, say the same things, follow the same habits, then you've stopped being a person of power and started being a pattern. Don't be a pattern. Surprise is strength. Mystery is leverage. If people don't know what you're thinking, they pay closer attention. If they don't know your next move, they respect your space. Your unpredictability becomes your shield. Your silence, your pauses, your changes in rhythm, these keep others guessing. And when they're guessing, you're in control. This doesn't mean you should play games or pretend to be someone you're not. This means learning to act with intention, not out of habit. To choose your moves carefully. To step away from being automatic. Think about animals in the wild. The ones who survive are the ones who don't move in straight lines. They change paths. They hide. They adapt. The same is true for you. If people know your routine, your triggers, your limits, they can trap you. But if you stay sharp, flexible, unpredictable, no one can box you in. Don't let people think they've figured you out. Keep something for yourself. Keep a layer they can't touch. Move differently when needed. Speak less when they expect a reaction. Walk away when they expect a fight. Agree when they expect resistance. Pause when they expect speed. Being unpredictable makes others nervous, not because you're dangerous, but because they don't know how to handle you. And people fear what they can't predict. Even in your daily habits, change things. Change your timing. Change your path. Don't live every day on autopilot. Predictability leads to boredom, and boredom leads to carelessness. Carelessness is how you lose your edge. Marcus Aurelius wasn't wild or chaotic, but he wasn't obvious either. He reflected before he responded. He moved with thought, not impulse. He surprised people with calm when they expected anger, with stillness when they expected force. That's real power. If someone thinks they can predict how you'll respond to disrespect, they'll test you. But if they're unsure, if they've seen you be calm one day and cold the next, they'll think twice. That hesitation is power. That pause is yours. In your relationships, don't always be available. In your routines, don't always be predictable. In your mindset, don't always react. Learn to hold still when others move. Learn to move when others pause. Learn to lead by staying one step ahead, not louder, just sharper. Predictable people are easy to control, easy to replace, easy to use. But people who are hard to read, they earn respect without asking for it. They lead without forcing it. So ask yourself right now, what have I made too easy to predict? My emotions, my habits, my time. Change it. Shift it. Shake it up. You are not here to live a life that runs on script. You are here to be disciplined, focused, but never obvious. Let them think they've figured you out, then move in silence and do what they didn't see coming. Number 5. Train yourself to be misunderstood. You don't need to explain yourself to everyone. You don't need the world to agree with you. And you definitely don't need strangers to understand your every move. The sooner you accept this, the stronger you become. People will misunderstand you. Let them. They will twist your silence into arrogance. Let them. They will call your discipline cold. Let them. They will think you've changed, become distant, lost interest, just because you stopped oversharing, stopped people-pleasing, stopped chasing their approval. Let them. You're not here to be understood. You're here to grow, to build, to become something few people even try to become. And that kind of growth is lonely. That kind of growth is hard to explain. Most people live on the surface. They don't understand sacrifice. They don't understand solitude. They don't understand why you're quiet, why you say no, why you disappear for weeks, why you don't react the way they expect. They want you to be simple, predictable, easy to label, easy to manage. But once you break free from that box, they panic. They criticize what they don't understand, and they attack what they can't control. Let them. You need to build a mind strong enough to be judged without crumbling. You need to train your emotions to stay steady when others get loud, when they question your decisions, when they doubt your direction. Stop trying to convince them. Stop trying to be liked. It's a trap. The more you explain, the more power you give away. The more you defend yourself, the more permission you give others to question your path. You don't need that. You don't need to make your vision small enough for them to understand. Marcus Aurelius was misunderstood. Every true leader is. Every focused person is. Every disciplined mind is seen as strange by those who lack it. That's just part of the price you pay to live with purpose. So let them talk. Let them wonder. Let them say, "You've changed." Because yes, you have. You're not the person who needed their approval anymore. You're not here to stay in the same place to make others comfortable. Train yourself to be okay with that. When you move in silence, people will assume. When you raise your standards, people will complain. When you grow, you outgrow, and that makes people insecure. Stay focused. Let them misunderstand. Let your actions speak when your words don't. Let your progress prove what your explanations never could. You don't have to fix every misunderstanding. You don't have to chase after clarity. If they really care, they'll watch. They'll learn. They'll understand on their own time. And if they don't, that's not your burden to carry. Don't let the fear of being misunderstood pull you off track. Don't let the opinions of small minds shrink your mission. Your journey is yours. Your values are yours. Your reasons are yours. People might not get it now, but that's okay. You're not building for now. You're building for later. And by the time they finally understand you, you'll be too far ahead to hear them. So train yourself for this. Build the strength to walk alone, the calm to be doubted, the patience to let your results speak. That's how real power is built, not through explaining, but through living with purpose. Let them misunderstand. You're not here to be liked. You're here to become unshakable. Number 6, be dangerous in the right way. You don't need to be loud. You don't need to be aggressive. But you do need to be dangerous. Not to harm others, but to protect yourself. To walk into the world knowing that if something goes wrong, you are not helpless. You are not weak. You are prepared. The world does not respect weakness. It might pity it, it might use it, but it does not respect it. Respect is earned through strength. Calm strength, controlled strength, dangerous strength. Being dangerous doesn't mean being violent. It means being capable, being ready, having something inside you that no one wants to wake up. You don't need to use it, but people should feel that it's there. If someone crosses the line, they should feel it. If someone disrespects you, they should think twice before doing it again. Not because you screamed, not because you lost control, but because your presence says, "I'm not someone to play with." Most people avoid conflict not because they're peaceful, but because they're powerless. They back down not by choice, but because they have no other option. That's not peace, that's fear. Real peace is when you have the power to fight, but choose not to. Real confidence is when you know you could destroy someone, but you'd rather walk away. That's the kind of danger the world respects. Train your body, not for attention, but for strength, for confidence, for control. A strong body changes how you feel, it changes how you move, and it changes how people move around you. Train your mind. Learn to think clearly under pressure. Learn to control your emotions. Learn to speak with power and move with purpose. A strong mind doesn't panic, it plans. Train your voice. Speak in a way that people feel. Speak with few words, but with weight. Let every sentence show that you're not to be underestimated. Marcus Aurelius was an emperor. He didn't shout, he didn't threaten, he didn't fight in the streets. But everyone knew he was not weak. He had the power to destroy, but the wisdom to control it. That's real danger, the kind that walks quietly and commands respect without force. People confuse being nice with being good. They are not the same. A nice person avoids conflict at all costs. A good person stands up when it matters. A dangerous person knows when to speak, when to act, and when to walk away, and they do all three with strength. Be the kind of person no one wants to cross. Not because you're cruel, but because you're sharp, focused, unshakable. Be the calm one in the room who could flip the table if needed, but never has to. That's what it means to be dangerous in the right way. You're not out to hurt anyone, but you are ready to defend your peace, ready to protect your people, ready to stand your ground when life demands it. The world respects strength, but even more, it respects controlled strength. The person who has fire, but knows how to aim it. The person who can fight, but doesn't need to prove it. So, become dangerous. In your mind, in your body, in your presence. Then walk through the world in silence, because your energy will speak for you. And when the time comes to protect your respect, your peace, your name, you'll know exactly what to do. Number 7. Embrace mild public shame. Don't run from embarrassment. Don't avoid uncomfortable moments. Don't try to be invisible just to feel safe. You need to learn how to be seen, even when it stings. If you want to grow, you have to be willing to feel a little shame, a little awkwardness, a little failure in front of others. Because that's where real confidence is built. Not in hiding, not in perfection, but in those moments where your pride takes a hit and you stand tall anyway. Most people live their whole lives afraid of what others will think. They won't try something new, speak in public, ask a question, or chase a dream, just because they might be laughed at, judged, corrected, exposed. That fear of shame is a prison. And the key to breaking out is simple. Stop avoiding it. You must train your mind to endure small hits to your ego. Let people see you stumble. Let them hear your voice shake. Let them raise their eyebrows. Then, keep going. Because once you realize that shame doesn't kill you, it loses its power. You don't need to become shameless. You just need to become resilient. Mild shame, messing up in front of others, getting something wrong, failing publicly, is not the end of the world. It's a test. One that builds strength, one that filters out the weak, the ones who back down when eyes are on them, the ones who fold under judgment. You won't be one of them. When you speak and your voice cracks, keep speaking. When you try and fall short, try again. When you're mocked or misunderstood, don't respond, just improve. You are not here to entertain the crowd. You are here to outlast them. Marcus Aurelius didn't hide from judgment. He wrote about facing insults, setbacks, and the opinions of others. He reminded himself, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think." In other words, don't waste time being afraid of shame. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to fall short. You're going to look foolish sometimes. That's part of the process. If you wait until you're perfect, you'll never move. If you wait until no one is watching, you'll never lead. So go out there. Speak up in the meeting. Share the idea. Try the thing you're afraid of. Let them see you sweat. Let them laugh. Then keep going. Because every time you survive a little shame, you grow a thicker skin, a calmer mind, a stronger spine. You don't need to be fearless. You just need to stop running. Let shame knock on the door, and don't flinch when it enters. Look it in the eye and keep moving. That's how leaders are made. Not by avoiding failure, but by facing it in public and refusing to break. Stop trying to be perfect. Perfection is a mask for fear. It's better to be flawed and brave than silent and fake. The world doesn't respect those who hide. It respects those who step forward, even when it's uncomfortable. So next time your hands shake, your face turns red, or you feel like shrinking, don't. Breathe. Own it. Finish strong. And when it's over, remind yourself, that wasn't as bad as I thought. That's how you train your mind for pressure. That's how you become unshakable. Let them watch. Let them doubt. Let them whisper. Then rise anyway. Number 8. Devalue the power of insults through pre-rehearsal. Insults only hurt when they catch you by surprise, when you expect praise and receive criticism instead, when you expect kindness but get disrespect. That's when you feel the sting. But what if you were already ready for it? What if you had seen the blow coming and stood there, unmoved? You must rehearse insults before they come, not because you're paranoid, but because you're prepared. This is what the Stoics called premeditation of adversity. Expect the hit before it lands. Play it out in your mind. Imagine someone mocking you, questioning you, attacking your name, your work, your image. Then ask yourself, if that happens, will I crumble, or will I remain calm? You see, insults only have power if you give them value. If someone throws a stone and you pick it up and carry it, that's on you. But if the stone hits the ground and you keep walking, it loses its force. Most people walk through life soft. They're not mentally prepared. They hope everyone will like them, agree with them, clap for them. And when they don't, when someone disrespects them, they lose control. Their peace is shattered because they expected comfort. But you must be different. You must expect resistance, expect rude words, expect misunderstanding. Not because you're negative, but because you're ready. Every morning ask yourself, what if today someone mocks me? What if they attack my progress? my appearance, my past. And then rehearse your reaction: stillness, strength, silence. Let them speak. Let them throw their words. You've heard worse already, in your mind. You've practiced this moment. It's not new to you. So you stand calm. You stay still. You smile, not because it doesn't hurt, but because you've stripped the insult of its surprise. Marcus Aurelius wrote to himself, "Today I will meet people who are selfish, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and rude." Not maybe. Not if. He said, will. He expected it. And because he expected it, it never broke him. You need to do the same. Rehearse the worst, so when it comes, it feels small. Practice being calm while others are loud. Practice being silent while others attack. Not because you're weak, but because you've already faced it in your mind and beat it there first. Ask yourself, what insult would hurt me most today? Now imagine hearing it from the person you least want to hear it from. Picture it. Sit with it. Then breathe. Let the sting pass. You didn't die. You didn't break. You just got stronger. This is how you take away their weapon. You disarm the insult before it's ever spoken. You devalue the words before they ever hit your ears. Because here's the truth. Words only cut if you're soft inside. But if you've built armor through pre-rehearsal, if your mind is already sharp and expecting the fire, then no insult can shake you. Most people react, but you prepare. Most people carry every rude comment like a wound, but you walk through the fire untouched. Why? Because you trained for it. You chose to suffer in your mind so you wouldn't suffer in real life. So next time someone disrespects you, let it land and let it fall flat. No anger, no reaction, just presence, just power. And inside, remind yourself, I already knew this moment would come. I already beat it in my mind. That's how you win. Not by controlling what others say, but by mastering what you expect and how you respond. Pre-rehearsal turns pain into preparation. So when the insult comes, it finds nothing to cling to. Number 9, never speak from ego, only principle. Think before you speak. Ask yourself one question. Am I saying this because of my values or just to protect my pride? If the answer is ego, stay silent. If it's principle, speak with calm strength. Most people speak from emotion, from hurt, from insecurity, from a need to be seen, to win, to defend themselves. But that kind of speech is weak. It's reactive. It adds noise, not value. It may feel good in the moment, but it costs you clarity, respect, and control. You don't need to defend your ego. You don't need to prove you're right. What you need is discipline. The discipline to speak only when your words are rooted in truth, reason, and purpose, not emotion. When someone disrespects you, your ego will want to lash out, to say something sharp, to attack back. Don't. That's not strength. That's insecurity in disguise. Let your silence do the heavy lifting. Let your restraint speak louder than your reaction. And when you do speak, speak from principle. Calm, focused, clear. Not to destroy the other person, but to stand for what's right. Not to win the argument, but to stand in truth. Marcus Aurelius faced betrayal, politics, and chaos every day. He had every excuse to lose his temper, but he didn't, because he understood a leader cannot speak from ego. A Stoic cannot be ruled by emotion. He once wrote, "If it's not right, don't do it. If it's not true, don't say it." Simple, sharp, solid. You are not your ego. You are not every emotion that rushes through you. You are the one who decides which words leave your mouth. Control that, and you control everything. Principle-based speech is different. It's not reactive. It doesn't shout. It doesn't argue to be liked. It's built on values, honor, respect, boundaries, truth. And because of that, it holds weight. It lasts longer. It builds trust. Ego-based speech is loud in the moment and empty right after. You walk away wishing you'd said less, wishing you had kept your cool, wishing you hadn't let your pride speak for you. Train yourself to pause. Before every sharp comment, every defensive reply, every moment you want to win, pause, breathe, ask, what am I trying to protect right now? My ego or my principles? If it's your ego, walk away. If it's your principles, speak, but do it without emotion, without noise. This doesn't mean be passive. It means be precise. When you need to say something hard, say it, but don't raise your voice. When you need to correct someone, do it, but don't humiliate them. When you need to defend a boundary, stand firm, but don't explain yourself endlessly. Principle doesn't beg. It doesn't rage. It just is. And when people see that in you, they feel it. They listen. Not because you force them to, but because your words carry something rare. Integrity. Don't use your voice to protect your pride. Use it to build something better. A stronger version of you, a more focused mind, a more respected presence. Speak less, mean more, make your words count. And if you're not sure whether to say something, don't. Let time filter your thoughts. Let discipline shape your response. Remember, ego shouts, principle speaks. Let others talk to feel important. You speak only when it's necessary. And when you do, they'll know you're not just talking, you're standing. Number 10. Study your enemies as if they're your tutors. Hate no one, not even the ones who tried to hurt you, not even the ones who mocked you, betrayed you, doubted you, or lied to your face. Because while they were trying to break you, they were teaching you. And if you were paying attention, they were shaping your strength. Your enemies are your teachers. Maybe not the ones you chose, but the ones you needed. They expose your weakness. They reveal your triggers. They test your patience, your pride, your control. And every time they attack, you have two options: react with emotion or learn with purpose. Most people waste energy trying to prove their enemies wrong. They argue, chase, respond, explode. But the wise stay silent. The disciplined watch closely. They don't waste time fighting. They study. And in that study, they grow sharper, smarter, stronger. Your enemies give you insight no friend ever could. Friends comfort you. Enemies challenge you. Friends encourage you. Enemies expose you. And in that exposure, you see what you still need to work on. That is a gift, if you're humble enough to accept it. Ask yourself, who brings out the worst in me? That's your teacher. Who makes you impatient, insecure, angry, or bitter? That's your mirror. Don't run from them. Watch them. Learn from them. They're showing you where you're still soft, where your ego still lives, where your discipline still cracks. Marcus Aurelius faced betrayal, war, rumors, and resistance from his own circle. Yet he wrote with calm. He thanked hardship for revealing truth. He didn't seek revenge. He sought understanding, because to him, the enemy was just another lesson. So treat yours the same way. When someone lies about you, learn how to stay silent and focused. When someone doubts you, learn how to keep working in the dark. When someone tries to provoke you, Learn how to remain still and unreadable. Your enemies don't define you, but they refine you. They shape your response, and how you respond reveals who you really are. Take notes, watch patterns, understand motives. Don't hate, observe. The person who watches their enemy without emotion is the one who always stays ahead. You can't outsmart someone you don't understand. So study, not to become them, but to protect yourself from them. Most people ignore their enemies or wish them away. Don't. Your enemies are data. They are training. They keep you sharp. They keep you awake. They keep your ego in check. And sometimes they're right. Sometimes the criticism you hate the most holds truth you need to face. Be mature enough to hear it. Be strong enough to extract the lesson from the insult. The world is full of feedback, but most people are too emotional to hear it. Not you. You study, you adapt, you upgrade, quietly, powerfully, without complaint. That's how you win. Not by clapping back, not by proving anything, but by growing so much that the person who once had power over you no longer recognizes you. So the next time someone crosses you, offends you, competes with you, don't get emotional. Get curious. What are they showing you? What can you learn? What weakness are they pressing on that you still need to strengthen? Your enemies are part of your training, so treat them as such. Don't fear them. Don't hate them. Learn from them. Because the more you learn, the less they control, and the more you grow, the less they matter. Number 11. Always be ready to leave everything. Hold nothing too tightly. Not your job, not your image, not your possessions, not even the people around you. Because the moment you need something to feel whole, you've lost control. Real strength is built on freedom, and freedom means being ready to walk away from anything at any time if it goes against your values, your peace, or your purpose. Most people stay stuck because they can't imagine letting go. They stay in broken relationships, toxic jobs, fake friendships, dead routines, all because they fear losing what they've grown attached to. But attachment is weakness if it stops you from moving forward. You must train your mind to be light, not careless, not cold, but clear. To be someone who can carry great things without being controlled by them. Someone who can walk away with nothing and still remain grounded. Ask yourself, if I had to let go of everything I have, would I still be me? If the answer is no, you've given your identity away. Marcus Aurelius ruled the Roman Empire, but he reminded himself daily, you could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think. He understood, nothing lasts, everything is borrowed, and because of that, we must hold everything with a loose grip. This doesn't mean you shouldn't care. It means you don't cling. You give your best, but you stay ready. Ready to walk away from anything that no longer aligns with who you are becoming. Your loyalty is to your values, not your comfort. Your mission, not your habits. If something starts to pull you off course, even if you once loved it, you let it go. Relationships? If they demand that you lower your standards or betray yourself to keep them, you leave. Status? If it turns you into someone fake, someone shallow, someone small, you walk away. Success? If it comes at the cost of your soul, you let it burn. The more you fear losing something, the more power it has over you. And power you give away is power you don't have when life tests you. Everything around you is temporary. Everything you own can be gone tomorrow. If your peace depends on things staying the same, you're not free, you're trapped. Practice detachment in small ways. Delete things you don't use. Walk away from things that no longer serve you. Take breaks from comfort. Say no when saying yes would cost you your peace. Live in a way that says, I can lose everything and I'll still be me. Because that's where unshakable power lives. Not in holding on, but in knowing you don't need to. When people know you're not afraid to walk away, they respect you differently. You can't be manipulated. You can't be guilt-tripped. You can't be controlled. Why? Because you've already made peace with loss. That's rare. That's dangerous. That's powerful. Don't wait for life to force you to let go. Train yourself now. Get used to change. Practice letting go. So when the moment comes, you don't break, you move. Remember this, freedom isn't found in what you have. It's found in what you can leave behind without fear. So be the person who shows up fully, but holds nothing too tightly. Be all in, but always ready to walk away. Own things, love people, enjoy life, but never let any of it own you. Number 12. Practice reverse arrogance. Most people walk into the room thinking they're better than everyone else. That's normal arrogance, but reverse arrogance is different. It's not thinking less of yourself, it's choosing to believe that everyone has something to teach you, that you're never too good to learn, never too wise to listen, never too strong to stay humble. Reverse arrogance is power with humility. It's when you know your worth, but you don't need to prove it. You don't walk around bragging, talking over people, or showing off your success. You stay grounded. You stay quiet. You let your results speak. The arrogant mind thinks it knows everything. It stops listening. It stops growing. But the reverse arrogant mind walks in thinking, I know what I know, but I also know there's more to learn. And that mindset will take you farther than talent, confidence, or natural intelligence ever could. Most people are so busy trying to look smart that they miss the lesson. But when you practice reverse arrogance, you ask questions. You stay curious. You treat the janitor with the same respect as the CEO, because you know wisdom doesn't always come with a title or a spotlight. Sometimes it comes quietly, from someone you weren't even paying attention to. This mindset isn't weakness, it's rare strength. To choose humility when you could flex, to choose silence when you could speak, to choose listening when you already know the answer. It's easy to look down on others, but that means nothing. It's harder to look inward and ask, what do I still need to work on? Reverse arrogance forces you to do that. Marcus Aurelius was the most powerful man in the world, and he still wrote to himself daily, reminding himself not to be proud, not to get lost in praise, not to see himself as better than anyone. He ruled with calm, with restraint, with awareness, because he knew ego destroys everything it touches. And ego doesn't just show up in loud people. Sometimes it hides in the quiet ones too, the ones who judge silently, who look down on others, who think they're above correction. That's still arrogance, and it still leads to failure. But when you practice reverse arrogance, you protect yourself from that fall. You become open. You let people teach you, even your enemies, even your critics, especially the ones you don't want to listen to, because there's something in every voice that can sharpen you, if you stop letting your pride block it. Next time someone gives you advice, don't brush it off. Listen. You don't have to agree, but hear it, weigh it, consider it. Reverse arrogance means you assume others know something you don't, and you're not too proud to admit it. It also means you don't make everything about you. When someone tells a story, let them finish. When someone shares an experience, don't jump in with your own. Stay present. Stay focused. People feel that. They remember it, because most are too self-absorbed to give it. In every room you enter, remind yourself, I'm not above anyone. I'm here to learn, not to impress. That keeps you grounded. That keeps you real. And that makes people respect you in a way arrogance never will. So remember this: confidence is quiet, growth is humble, and power doesn't need a spotlight. Practice reverse arrogance. Be strong, but stay open. Be sharp, but always learning. Because the day you think you're above the lesson is the day you stop rising. Number 13. Don't defend yourself verbally, ever. Let people talk. Let them doubt. Let them misunderstand you, insult you, criticize you. Do not explain yourself. Do not argue. Do not try to clear your name. You don't need to. The moment you start defending yourself, you place your worth in someone else's hands. You give them control. You act like their opinion matters more than your truth. That's weakness disguised as pride. Most people live on edge, ready to defend themselves at every word. A little gossip, a little shade, and they explode. They post, rant, over-explain. Why? Because their identity is tied to being understood. But once you need to be understood, you've already lost. You were not put here to be understood by everyone. You were put here to become something strong. And that strength does not come from arguing. It comes from silence, from presence, from calm. Let them accuse you. Let them twist your words. Let them form opinions based on half-truths and hearsay. That's their noise, not your reality. If you start trying to fix every false image of you, you'll spend your whole life running in circles. People believe what they want to believe. If they want to hate you, they will. If they want to twist your words, they will. If they want to judge you, they will. And guess what? None of that changes who you are. Marcus Aurelius faced enemies, liars, betrayal, politics, and he didn't chase after his reputation. He didn't beg for understanding. He stayed rooted in his actions. He focused on living right, not on looking right. That's the mindset you need. Live in a way that makes words useless. Let your actions speak so clearly that no rumor can survive in the long term. And in the short term, let people guess. Every time you defend yourself, you're saying, "Your view of me matters more than my own peace." And that's never the case. The more powerful you become, the more misunderstood you will be. That's the cost of rising above the crowd. You must train your mind to stay quiet in the face of attack. You must learn to let your silence become your sword. This doesn't mean you let people walk all over you. It means you don't waste your breath where your effort will be ignored. You don't argue in the mud. You rise above it. You don't owe anyone an explanation for your standards, your decisions, or your growth. The people who matter don't need your defense. They already see you. The ones who don't, nothing you say will ever be enough anyway. Let your life do the talking. Let your consistency do the work. Let your results make the noise. Defend yourself in how you show up, in how you work, in how you keep going when others try to drag you down. That's real defense. Quiet, powerful, untouchable. Say nothing, build everything, and watch how the same people who doubted you go silent. So next time they lie, twist your story, or paint you wrong, do nothing, say nothing, keep building. You are not here to be right in their eyes. You are here to live by truth. That truth needs no defense. Silence is your shield. Discipline is your proof. Time is your ally. So hold your ground, walk away, and never defend yourself verbally, ever. Number 14. Never demand loyalty. Command it by inner gravity. Loyalty is not something you ask for. It's something you attract. If you have to beg for it, threaten for it, or constantly test it, it's not real. Loyalty that matters is earned, not forced. Don't go around demanding that people stand by you. That's weakness. That's fear. Instead, become the kind of person others want to follow, want to protect, want to stay close to, without being asked. That kind of loyalty comes from strength, stillness, integrity. People feel your energy before they hear your words. They know when they're standing next to someone who doesn't break, doesn't fold, doesn't sell out. Think of the strongest people you know, the ones who walk into a room and change it. Not by talking, but by presence. That's gravity. That's what you want to build. You build it by keeping your word, by being solid, by never acting out of desperation, by making hard decisions calmly, by being someone who does the right thing, especially when no one's watching. Don't beg people to stay. Let them go if they want to leave. Don't guilt-trip your friends. Don't test their loyalty with drama. Watch them. Observe. Loyalty reveals itself when things get quiet, when times get hard, when there's nothing to gain. Marcus Aurelius never forced people to follow him. He ruled with calm discipline and personal example. He didn't scream loyalty, he earned it. And if someone betrayed him, he moved forward. No begging, no chasing, just composure. You don't need 100 people. You need a few good ones. And you'll find them not by demanding loyalty, but by embodying it. Be loyal to your values. Be loyal to your mission. Be loyal to your standards. That's your anchor. That's your code. And those who align with it, they'll stay, without being asked. So stop looking around. Start looking within. Loyalty flows to those who don't need it, but live in a way that commands it. Let your character do the talking. Let your silence do the filtering. And let your gravity pull the right ones in. Number 15. Master cold praise. When you praise someone, do it with control, do it with calm, do it with intention. That's called cold praise. Not loud, not excited, not overdone. Just steady, measured respect, given without need, without attachment, and without trying to win favor. Why? Because real praise, cold praise, shows confidence, emotional control, strength, and most of all, power. Most people praise out of weakness. They praise to be liked. They compliment to be accepted. They flatter because they want something in return: approval, attention, status. But when praise is warm and needy, it exposes you. It shows you want something, and people feel it. That kind of praise does the opposite of what you think. It lowers your value. But cold praise? Cold praise is different. You look someone in the eye and you say, "Well done." No smile, no extra words, no energy behind it. Just respect. Sharp, short, real. It lands harder. Because it doesn't beg. It doesn't ask for attention. It doesn't try to please. It simply recognizes what needs to be recognized and moves on. Think about the strongest people you've met, the most disciplined, the most respected. They don't shower others with compliments, but when they do say something good, people remember it. Why? Because it's rare, it's sincere, and it's cold. That kind of praise means more than 100 empty compliments. Marcus Aurelius didn't waste time on flattery. He praised actions, not feelings. He praised results, not noise. And when he spoke well of someone, he did it with precision, not emotion. That's your model. Start practicing this today. Watch your tone, your words, your timing. Don't praise everything. Don't praise often. But when something truly earns your respect, acknowledge it, but with control. A simple nod, a sharp comment, one sentence, then move on. This teaches people two things. Your words mean something. You don't give them away cheaply. Cold praise is a test. It filters out people who only want your approval. The ones who crave validation will feel unsettled by it. They won't know where they stand. And that's a good thing, because it protects your value. It keeps you from being pulled into emotional games. Never use praise to fill silence. Never use it to be nice. Nice is not respected. Calm, clear, intentional, that is respected. And never use praise to soften your strength. Some people praise before they set a boundary, or after they reject someone, or to calm a conflict. Don't. That waters down your message. It makes you look uncertain, weak. If someone earns your respect, give it to them cold. Calm tone, steady posture, strong eye contact. Then leave it at that. No need to explain, no need to smile, no need to soften it. It's better to underpraise than to overpraise. When you speak sparingly, your voice has weight. When you praise without emotion, it hits harder. When you speak without need, you keep your power. Cold praise is not rude, it's not robotic, it's focused. And in a world that's addicted to noise, that focus stands out. So remember, flattery is noise. Approval seeking is weakness. But cold praise, that's strength. Say less, mean more. Give your words sharp edges. And never let your praise come from need. Let it come from discipline. Number 16. Don't flatter, ever. Speak the truth, not what others want to hear. Flattery is manipulation. It may sound polite, it may seem harmless, but underneath it is weakness, a need to be liked, a fear of rejection, a desire for approval. And once you speak like that, people know they can own you. Flattery is not respect. It's begging dressed as a compliment. It's what people say when they want something. It's empty words meant to please, not to guide. And the person who flatters becomes forgettable because their words have no weight. Don't be that person. Don't exaggerate praise. Don't pretend to admire what you don't. Don't give compliments just to fit in or keep the peace. People may smile when they hear it, but deep down, they'll know you're not real. And once they see that, they'll never truly respect you. Speak simply. Speak honestly. If someone is great at something, tell them, once, clearly, directly, and then move on. Let your praise be rare and real. Let your words carry value because they're not handed out carelessly. People admire the man who doesn't flatter. Why? Because they know when that man speaks, he means it. Because they know he's not trying to gain favor, he's standing in truth. Even when you're impressed by someone, stay grounded. Compliment their work, not their ego. Speak to their effort, not their identity. You are not here to boost feelings, you're here to stay honest. Flattery makes you look small. It makes you sound unsure of yourself. It makes people wonder, what does he want from me? And the moment they think that, they stop trusting you. Marcus Aurelius never flattered his generals, his people, or his enemies. He led with reason, not charm. He gave credit when it was earned, but he didn't decorate it with sweet talk. He knew that truth lasts longer than empty praise. Practice that. Speak to people with respect, but never from weakness. Give credit where it's due, but do not decorate it with exaggeration. Be sincere, be brief, be steady. In every interaction, people are testing your voice. They're listening not just to your words, but your intent. And when your intent is to impress, to gain favor, to be liked, they feel it. Don't chase approval. Don't try to buy comfort with compliments. Don't dilute your voice trying to please people who barely notice you. Build a reputation for speaking truth, even when it's uncomfortable. Be the one whose praise is rare, but always real. The one who doesn't need to flatter because they're not trying to get anything. That kind of presence is powerful. It makes people stop and listen. It makes your words matter. And when people ask you what you think, don't try to protect their ego. Speak with kindness, yes, but speak with clarity. Never lie to make someone feel good. Never pretend. Never lower your standards just to be accepted. You don't need to flatter to connect. You don't need to charm to earn respect. Let others play that game. You walk a straighter path. And when others compliment you excessively, smile. Say thank you. Then move on. Don't get drunk on sweet words. Stay sharp. Stay humble. Stay steady. Flattery is noise. Truth is substance. Choose substance. So remember, don't flatter, ever. Not because you're cold, but because you're honest. And the world needs more of that. Number 17. Sleep on rejection. When rejection hits, don't react. Don't respond. Don't beg. Don't defend. Just pause. Walk away. Stay silent. And sleep on it. You don't need to prove anything in the moment. You don't need to make them understand why you deserved better. You don't need to argue or explain. You need time. You need clarity. You need space to think. Rejection stings. It touches your pride. It shakes your confidence. But if you react too fast, all you do is expose your weakness. You speak from pain, not principle. And pain-driven words always lead to regret. So when someone says no, when they shut you out, ignore you, reject you, let it land, then leave it. Let it sit, and walk away with discipline. The first night is the hardest. You'll feel anger, maybe sadness, maybe the urge to prove your worth. But don't give in to that first wave. Emotions rise. Let them. Don't act. Don't speak. Don't post. Don't chase. Just breathe. The Stoics knew this well. Marcus Aurelius faced rejection from people in his court, the Senate, even close advisors. He didn't respond with emotion. He slept on it. He gave space before deciding anything. Why? Because emotion makes you impulsive. Sleep gives you wisdom. You must learn this. Not every closed door needs to be kicked open. Not every rejection is personal. Not every no is an attack on your identity. Sometimes it's redirection. Sometimes it's a test. Sometimes it's a gift you won't understand until later. But you'll only see that if you pause. Rejection is not the end of anything. It's feedback. And if you take it with composure, you gain something most people never will: emotional control. The next morning, after sleep, after stillness, you'll feel different. What hurt at night becomes clear by morning. What felt urgent will feel small. What looked like the end will look like a step. And that's the power of waiting. Sleeping on rejection is not weakness. It's restraint. It's saying, I am more than this moment. It's showing yourself and the world that you don't break from a no. You evolve. Let others react fast. Let them post their pain online. Let them chase what just rejected them. Let them look desperate. You stay grounded, even if it was unfair, even if it caught you off guard, even if they don't see your value. That doesn't change who you are. That doesn't lower your worth. If someone rejects you, good. Now you know where they stand. Now you have your answer. Now you can walk forward without dragging them in your mind. And if it was an opportunity you lost, let it go. If it's truly meant for you, you'll come back stronger. If not, something better will meet you on the path. Either way, you win. But only if you don't fold under the first hit. So next time rejection comes, don't panic, don't perform, don't explain. Just pause. Hold your ground. Say nothing. Sleep. Because when you wake up, you'll see the truth. And truth, not emotion, is what you move with. That's how calm people win. Let rejection come. Then let the night pass and rise stronger the next day with no bitterness, no weakness, no noise. Just direction. Number 18. Collect emotional weapons, not just thoughts. Reading isn't enough. Knowing isn't enough. Thinking deeply isn't enough. You can fill your mind with wisdom, but if your emotions collapse under pressure, what good is any of it? Most people confuse knowledge with strength. They study, quote, and post all the right things, but the moment life hits them in the gut, they break. They know what they should do, but can't do it. Why? Because they haven't built emotional weapons. They've only collected thoughts. You must go beyond thinking. You must build internal tools. Tools that work when your back is against the wall. Tools that stay sharp when your mind is clouded by anger, fear, or stress. That's what emotional weapons are. Mental habits that don't break under fire. Discipline is a weapon. So is patience. So is detachment. So is silence. So is the ability to breathe deeply and not react when insulted, tested, or pushed. These are not traits you're born with. These are forged, like steel. You need to train them every day. Not when life is easy, but when it's uncomfortable, when someone disrespects you, when a door slams in your face, when you're misunderstood, overlooked, underestimated. That's when you train. That's when you sharpen the blade. Don't just know that anger is useless. Practice letting it pass. Don't just understand that silence is powerful. Use it when your ego wants to speak. Don't just agree that patience is strength. Hold your ground when everything in you wants to act now. Thoughts are theory. Emotional weapons are execution. Marcus Aurelius didn't survive by simply writing clever lines. He survived because he lived by them, under pressure, under attack, under the weight of an empire. He didn't just think, he trained, daily, internally. You must do the same. You can't rely on memory when emotion is high. You must rely on reflex, automatic control, built from repetition, forged through friction. That's what separates the disciplined from the reactive. That's what builds a dangerous mind, one that can face insult, chaos, and uncertainty and remain untouched. Emotional weapons don't show off. They stay hidden. But you'll feel them. You'll feel them when someone tests you and you don't flinch, when something goes wrong and you don't panic, when you're alone and still centered. That's strength no one can fake. So collect thoughts, but turn them into training, into habits, into tools that work when thinking is no longer an option. Read less, reflect more, test yourself. Put yourself in situations where your emotional control is the only thing you have. That's how you grow. That's how you level up. Control your breath. Control your tone. Control your attention. Learn to detach without disconnecting. Learn to feel emotion without becoming emotion. That's your armor. Build the ability to pause, mid-conflict, mid-failure, mid-praise. Pause, think, stay still, and then respond. Slowly, clearly, with weight. No panic, no performance, just control. That's what a warrior looks like on the inside. Don't just collect quotes. Don't just agree with ideas. Make them part of your instincts, because when life gets loud, you won't have time to think. You'll only have time to act, and you will act the way you've trained. So build yourself from the inside out, quietly, daily, ruthlessly. Let the world see a calm face. Let it feel a steady presence. Let it have no idea how sharp you've become beneath the surface. Because you don't need to show your weapons. You just need to carry them with confidence. Number 19. Do small, private acts of austerity. You don't need to show the world how disciplined you are. You need to live it, quietly, privately, consistently. Austerity means going without, choosing less, training your mind and body to function without comfort, without luxury, without applause. Not to punish yourself, but to harden yourself, to remind yourself that you are not dependent on pleasure. In a world where everyone is chasing more convenience, more pleasure, more attention, you must go the other way. Strip it back, go without, on purpose. Eat a plain meal, even when you can afford more. Sleep on the floor once in a while. Walk instead of driving. Fast for a day. Skip the entertainment. Carry something heavy. Refuse comfort when it's not necessary. Don't do it to impress. Don't do it to post. Do it to stay sharp, to stay dangerous, to prove to yourself that you can choose discomfort without being forced into it. Marcus Aurelius slept on hard surfaces even though he was emperor. Cato wore simple clothes when others dressed in luxury. Seneca practiced poverty once a month, even though he was wealthy, just to remind himself that if it ever came, he could handle it. You need to train that same muscle, because when life hits, when you lose something, when comfort is taken, when the world shifts, you will not panic. You've already been there. You've already done without. You've already walked through discomfort on your own terms. That is freedom, and that's why it must be private. No audience, no praise. Because the moment you need recognition for your discipline, it's no longer discipline, it's performance. You're not doing this for attention, you're doing it to build inner steel, quiet confidence, the kind of strength that doesn't flinch when the easy option disappears. Practice self-denial, not forever, not to suffer, but to stay in control. To remind yourself, I am not ruled by appetite, I am not ruled by ease, I am not ruled by comfort. Skip the luxury meal. Turn off the heater. Sit in silence. Delay gratification. You won't die. In fact, you'll wake up sharper, hungrier, more focused. Austerity doesn't mean living in misery. It means choosing discipline over indulgence, once in a while, on purpose, when no one's watching. And when things are easy, when money is good, when your schedule is light, when life feels smooth, that's when you train even harder. That's when you fast. That's when you go without. That's when you put yourself in a state of pressure, even if the world won't. Because soft habits create soft minds, and soft minds break under pressure. You are not building comfort. You are building capacity. And capacity is built in the quiet moments, when no one sees you skip the shortcut, no one sees you pass on pleasure, no one sees you take the harder path just because you can. You must be the kind of person who can endure loss, rejection, discomfort, and chaos without falling apart. That kind of strength is not built in comfort. It's built in quiet austerity. So once in a while, take something away from yourself. A little food, a little heat, a little convenience. Not forever. Just long enough to say, I don't need this. I control this. This doesn't control me. Make it a habit. Keep it private. And when the world breaks down, you'll still be standing, calm, clear, and ready. Because you trained for it. Number 20. Maintain one strategic secret. Keep one thing to yourself, always. One goal, one method, one truth. Something no one knows but you. A plan, a move, a skill, a mission. Something that gives you quiet power. Because in a world where everyone overshares, silence becomes leverage. People who tell you everything are easy to read, easy to track, easy to block. But the one who holds something back, that person is dangerous. Don't let everyone see your hand. Don't tell them what you're working on, what you're about to do, how far ahead you're really thinking. They may act like they support you, but the truth is, most people don't want you to grow beyond them. They want access. They want control. They want comfort. So give them nothing important. Let them think they know you. Let them hear your voice. Let them see your routine. But let there be one piece they don't see. One move you never explain. One goal you never say out loud. That's your edge. Marcus Aurelius journaled every day, but those pages weren't for others. They were for him. His reflections, his training, his reminders. Even as emperor, surrounded by people and power, he kept something sacred for himself, his inner strategy, his private discipline, his personal direction. You need that too, because when everyone knows your full plan, you give them the power to interfere, to doubt, to question. And when you let people's opinions touch your plans, those plans start to weaken. But when it's yours, quiet, protected, untouchable, it stays strong. Not because it's hidden out of fear, but because it's guarded by purpose. That one strategic secret becomes your anchor, your reminder that not everything needs to be announced, shared, or posted. That real strength doesn't seek attention, it seeks results. This doesn't mean lie, it means protect. It means know when to speak and when to stay silent. It means learning that mystery has weight, and that weight earns respect. When people can't fully read you, they stay alert. They hesitate, they second guess. And in that hesitation, you gain space, time, advantage. Even in conversation, don't give it all away. You can be kind, clear, and open, but still reserved, still disciplined, still holding something just for you. Let others talk. Let them overshare. Let them reveal every detail of their plan, their emotions, their next move. You observe, you listen, and you protect your mission, because your mission is not for everyone. There is always something sacred you must carry alone, a vision that isn't ready to be exposed, a goal that needs space to grow, a strategy that becomes more powerful the longer it stays quiet. That's how warriors move. That's how builders move. That's how disciplined minds operate, not with noise, but with precision. So if you haven't done this already, choose it now. One thing you're working on, one project, one habit, one intention, and say nothing about it. Let it grow in silence. Let it sharpen behind the curtain. Let it become real before anyone knows it exists. And when the time comes, when the move is ready, execute. Without warning, without build-up, without announcement. Let your results shock the world. But until then, hold your ground, hold your silence, and hold your secret like it's your sword. Because it is. Number 21. Meditate on becoming unemployable. What does it mean to be unemployable? It means you are no longer dependent on someone else to feed you, to validate you, to give you permission to live. You don't chase jobs. You don't beg for roles. You don't shrink yourself to fit in. You build yourself into someone who cannot be boxed, cannot be ordered, and cannot be controlled by fear of losing a paycheck. This mindset is not about arrogance. It's about freedom. The freedom to walk away. The freedom to say no. The freedom to stay silent when others speak lies and not worry about losing your position. You must train your mind to see employment for what it is, a tool, not a lifeline, a place to sharpen your skills, not a place to lose your soul. If the only reason you stay silent, obedient, or agreeable is to keep your job, you're not free, you're not grounded in principle, you're not in control, you're trapped. Marcus Aurelius was emperor, but he didn't let the title define him. He reminded himself daily that power could be taken at any moment, so he lived in a way that couldn't be broken by status or fear. That's the mindset you need, not just for leadership, but for survival. To become unemployable, you must build something of your own, a skill, a craft, a business, a mind that can think, write, create, solve, lead. Something that no one can take from you, something that gives you power, not dependence. Even if you have a job, think like you don't need it. Work hard, be excellent, but never be afraid to walk away if your values are compromised. Never be so desperate that you betray yourself to survive. People who fear unemployment will say yes to anything. They tolerate disrespect. They compromise their integrity. They become soft, afraid, silent. And over time, they forget who they were. But the one who is mentally unemployable, he speaks clearly, acts boldly, sets boundaries, and doesn't panic when things change, because he's already prepared to stand alone. This doesn't mean quit your job tomorrow. It means think differently, build behind the scenes, read, write, start small, develop a second skill, create value without waiting for permission, and most of all, stop thinking like a servant. You are not meant to be ruled. You are not meant to be afraid of change. You are meant to lead, to adapt, and to survive without needing someone to give you direction. If you lose your job tomorrow, would you panic? Would you beg? Or would you move forward with calm because you've already been preparing? Ask yourself that daily. Build your value so high that you never feel owned. Build your courage so strong that you never feel stuck. Build your vision so clear that you can't be bought. That is what it means to be unemployable, not useless but untouchable. You become dangerous, not because you threaten others, but because you don't need them. And when you don't need them, you speak the truth. You lead with clarity. You move with power. So meditate on this every day. What if I had to walk away tomorrow? Would you survive? If the answer is no, start now. Build, prepare, strengthen. So one day, if the world turns its back, you'll keep walking, head high, unshaken, because you never needed them to begin with. Number 22. Study those who disrespected you closely. Don't ignore disrespect. Don't overreact to it either. Just remember it and study it, quietly, closely, with full attention, because behind every insult is information, and behind every attack is a map. The person who disrespected you just gave you a gift, a window into their mind, a glimpse into their weakness, an unfiltered look at who they really are when the mask drops. Most people get emotional when they're disrespected. They argue, they defend, they explode. But none of that gives you power. It gives you noise. Power comes from observation, from control, from watching carefully without being shaken. Disrespect is data, how they said it, when they said it, why they said it. what they needed in that moment to try to make you feel small. That tells you everything about them and how much you've already grown beyond them. When someone insults you, they're revealing more about themselves than about you. Insecurity, envy, weakness, lack of self-control. You just became their mirror, and they didn't like what they saw. But your job is not to react. Your job is to analyze. Was it a one-time mistake or a pattern? Did they do it in private, or did they try to humiliate you publicly? Did they attack your character, your effort, or your silence? Did they get bolder when others were watching? Pay attention. Because if you don't understand the people who try to break you, you'll repeat the same mistakes. You'll trust too soon. You'll speak too freely. You'll forget too quickly. And then it happens again. This is not about revenge. This is not about bitterness. This is about intelligence, emotional intelligence, strategic awareness. You must become a master of reading the room, and you can't do that if you avoid discomfort. Marcus Aurelius faced betrayal from within his own circle. He was emperor, but even he wasn't safe from disrespect. Yet he didn't lose his composure. He didn't waste time with petty revenge. He wrote, "When someone does wrong, it is because they do not know what is right." He observed, he learned, then he moved on, wiser than before. You must do the same. Don't gossip about them. Don't try to get even. Don't wish them harm. Just study them. Let them reveal their patterns. Let them show you how they treat people when they think no one is watching. That's the real them. Believe it. And then, adjust. Set boundaries. Create distance. Remove access. Upgrade your circle. Upgrade your strategy. Because once someone shows you they are capable of disrespecting you, they're capable of doing it again. Don't ignore that just because you want to keep peace. Peace built on silence is not peace, it's delay. Keep a mental list, not to hold a grudge, but to remember who they are. And when life changes, when success comes, when roles shift, you'll know exactly who earned your presence and who lost it forever. Disrespect reveals character, both theirs and yours. Theirs because they chose to act small, yours because you chose to stay calm. You're not here to act like them, you're here to outgrow them. So let them speak, let them underestimate you, let them cross the line, and then use what you've learned to build distance, clarity, and power. Study them, not emotionally, strategically, because every insult is a lesson in disguise, and the one who learns the fastest wins. Number 23. Teach with your standards, not your voice. You don't need to preach. You don't need to lecture. You don't need to correct everyone around you with words. People don't follow what you say. They follow what you tolerate. Your standards are louder than your advice. The way you live, what you allow, what you refuse, what you walk away from. That's your lesson. If you have to constantly explain yourself, beg for respect, or repeat your values, something's off. It means your actions aren't clear enough, your boundaries aren't strong enough, your example isn't sharp enough. Stop trying to teach with your voice. Start teaching with how you show up. If you value discipline, live it. If you value respect, demand it by what you allow. If you value order, carry it into your space. If you value peace, don't entertain chaos, even once. When you walk into a room, people should feel your standards before you say a word. They should feel the weight of your silence, the clarity in your posture, the presence in your decisions. That's leadership. You don't need to yell. You don't need to explain why something crossed the line. You don't need to list your rules like a contract. All you need to do is act. One firm move teaches more than 1,000 lectures. You don't like how you're being treated? Don't argue. Leave. You don't like how the team is working? Don't complain. Raise your standard. You don't like the energy in the room? Don't talk about it. Change how you show up. Marcus Aurelius didn't write long speeches to force change. He lived with focus, discipline, and silence, and because of that, people followed, not because he demanded it, but because they felt it. The strongest leaders don't chase influence. They attract it through consistency. Your standards are your boundaries, and your boundaries are your signal to the world. People test you with small things. They ask small favors. They cross small lines. How you respond in those moments defines how they treat you going forward. If you let things slide, if you try to keep the peace by staying quiet, they learn they can push further. But when you make one move, walk away, say no, hold firm, without raising your voice, you teach a lesson they won't forget. You show them, I don't lower my standard to keep you close, and that's a powerful message. You don't have to be cold, but you must be clear. And clarity doesn't come from talking. It comes from living your values without apology. When you let your voice lead, you invite debate. But when your standard speaks first, there's nothing to argue with. No explanation needed. No justification required. You want to change your environment? Start with yourself. Show up with a higher standard. Be more disciplined than the room. Be more focused. Be more intentional. Watch what happens. The right people will rise to meet you. The wrong ones will walk away. Both are a win. So teach by action. Correct with absence. Lead by being the example, not by talking about it. You don't need to say much. Your life is already the message. Number 24. View popular opinion as a virus. Protect your mind. Because the loudest voices are rarely the wisest. The popular opinion, what everyone believes, what everyone says, what everyone does, is often shallow, weak, and designed to keep you average. Most people are not thinking, they are following. They adopt beliefs without question. They speak in slogans. They copy trends. They do what's safe, what's easy, what gets approval. But just like a virus, that mindset spreads. And if you're not careful, it infects you too. You must treat popular opinion as a threat. Not because all of it is wrong, but because most of it is untested, unproven, and repeated only because it's comfortable. The moment you let the crowd into your mind, you lose your edge. You start to doubt your instincts. You question your vision. You adjust your path just to fit in. And slowly, your power fades. Popular opinion rewards comfort, not courage. Pleasure, not discipline. Speed, not depth. Popular opinion tells you, do what makes you happy, but it never tells you, do what makes you strong. You are not here to think like the masses. You are here to observe the masses, and then move differently. Marcus Aurelius warned against letting the crowd pull you into their ways. He reminded himself daily to stand guard over his mind. He knew that most people chase pleasure, fear discomfort, and drift through life without principle. He refused to become one of them. You must do the same. Don't seek validation from the herd. Don't chase applause. Don't copy success just because it's trending. You have to look deeper. Ask, is this true? Is this useful? Is this mine? If the answer is no, reject it. This includes what's said online, in the media, in your social circle, even in your own family. Just because it's repeated doesn't make it right. Just because it's popular doesn't make it wise. Popular opinion tells you, take it easy, avoid conflict, don't be too serious, blend in, be realistic. But warriors don't listen to that. Builders don't follow crowds. Leaders don't chase acceptance. They move with purpose, not permission. You must think for yourself. That means being alone sometimes. It means being doubted, mocked, misunderstood. That's fine. That's the price of staying sharp in a world that has gone dull. Treat your mind like your body. Be careful what you let in. Just like you wouldn't eat garbage, don't feed your brain with it either. Don't scroll endlessly. Don't absorb every headline. Don't follow just because others are following. Instead, build filters. Study deeply. Listen carefully. Question everything. And once you know something is true for you, stand on it. With calm, with conviction, without the need for applause. The more you separate yourself from the crowd, the clearer you think. And the clearer you think, the further you go. The crowd will always pull you sideways, but clarity pulls you forward. This doesn't mean hate the crowd. It means don't become them. Don't let the virus of approval-seeking weaken your discipline. Don't let the infection of comfort kill your potential. You're not here to be liked. You're here to be free. So when popular opinion knocks, don't open the door. Observe it. Learn from it. But do not live by it. You don't need it. You need truth, discipline, focus, and the courage to stand alone. Protect your mind, reject the virus, and walk your own path unapologetically. Number 25. Learn to live without applause. You must stop needing praise. Stop chasing recognition. Stop looking for a pat on the back every time you do something right, because the moment you need applause, you've already made yourself weak. Live in a way that doesn't depend on claps. Build in silence. Work in the shadows. Grow without posting it. Improve without broadcasting it. And when success comes, let it speak, not for likes, not for validation, but as proof of your discipline. If you only push hard when people are watching, you're not serious. If you only feel valuable when you're praised, your mind is fragile. If you depend on applause, you are no longer free. You're performing. Stop performing. Start building. Most people want to be seen. They want attention. They want followers, compliments, trophies, cheers. But that kind of reward fades. It comes and goes. And the moment it's not there, you crash. But the disciplined man, the focused one, the builder, he doesn't flinch when no one notices, because he didn't do it for applause. He did it because it was right, because it needed to be done, because it aligned with who he is. The real ones don't seek validation. They seek results. They don't ask, will they like this? They ask, does this make me better? That shift in mindset changes everything. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself to do good without needing thanks. He knew that virtue is its own reward, that becoming strong on the inside matters more than being praised on the outside. You must learn the same. Live like no one is watching. Practice like no one will clap. Improve like no one will notice. Because that's how true mastery is built. Without noise, without reward, without needing anyone to tell you good job. Let others talk. Let them show off. Let them chase likes and approval. You stay in the shadows. You stay working. You stay focused. And when they forget to applaud you, you keep going. Because the applause will stop. The attention will fade. The room will get quiet. And in that silence, most people give up. They think, what's the point? But you'll know. The point is growth. The point is strength. The point is becoming someone solid, someone sharp, someone real. You'll know that applause was never the goal. The goal was discipline. The goal was becoming unshakable. When you stop needing praise, you become dangerous. You work when others quit. You improve when no one's watching. You sharpen your edge in private. And when you step into the world, you don't need noise to feel powerful. So test yourself, work hard and tell no one. Achieve something and say nothing. Be excellent in silence. Let the results speak if they must. But don't do it for applause. Do it because you refuse to be average. Claps are cheap. Recognition is temporary. But what you build in silence, that stays with you. That builds your character. That makes you unstoppable. Let the world sleep on you. Let them overlook you. Let them miss every step of your rise. And when they finally notice, you won't even care, because you're already miles ahead. Train yourself to not care who sees you. Train yourself to not care who approves. Train yourself to not care who claps. Because when you no longer need applause, you're finally ready for greatness. You don't earn respect by asking for it. You earn it by becoming someone who commands it without speaking a word. Through your habits, through your silence, through your ability to walk away, stay composed, and never lower your standards. These 25 lessons weren't for show. They were armor, tools, weapons. If you apply them, not once, but daily, disrespect won't even reach you. People will feel your presence before you speak. And that's the goal. Calm, disciplined, untouchable. If this resonated, drop a comment below. Let me know which principle hit the hardest for you. I read everyone. And if you're ready to build an unshakable mind, subscribe to the channel now. No fluff, no hype, just straight mental strength, one lesson at a time. The world doesn't need more noise. It needs more people who can't be moved. Let that be you. Have you ever found yourself in a relationship that slowly chips away at your peace, your confidence, and your sense of self-worth? In today's video, we're going to uncover 9 unmistakable signs that it may be time to cut ties completely, even if that person is someone close to you, like a friend or a family member. Picture this. Is there someone in your life who consistently makes you feel guilty, judged, or as though your value depends solely on how much you please them? As Marcus Aurelius wisely said, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Setting boundaries and creating distance isn't selfish. It's a vital act of self-respect and protection for your inner peace. This video is designed to help you not only identify these toxic patterns, but also to equip you with the tools and confidence to confront them without guilt and without second-guessing yourself. Make sure to stay with me until the very end, because I'll be revealing one of the most subtle yet widespread signs of a damaging relationship, one that many people overlook, and I'll share how you can liberate yourself from it for good. Before we dive in, if you find these insights valuable, please take a moment to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss any future content that empowers your spirit and transforms your relationships for the better. Now, let's begin this important journey of reclaiming your freedom, your dignity, and the peace of mind you truly deserve. First, avoid people who are unwilling to spend money. Have you ever encountered someone whose first comment to you always seems to revolve around not having enough money? At first, it's easy to feel sympathy, especially if you believe they're going through a tough time. But strangely, these individuals often enjoy a fairly comfortable lifestyle, taking trips, indulging in hobbies, and spending on their own pleasures. Yet, when it comes to you or any shared commitment, they suddenly claim financial limitations to avoid responsibility or avoid giving back. This isn't about struggling with poverty. It's about intentional behavior. If you've experienced this, pause and reflect. This is not a sign of a balanced or authentic connection. I once had a friend just like this. Every time we planned an activity together, he would find a reason related to money to back out. But I noticed that he had no problem spending on expensive clothes or impressing others. One day, when he backed out of a trip we had both been excited about, I realized the issue wasn't money. It was the lack of value he placed on our time together. That was the turning point for me. I understood then that such relationships cannot thrive because they aren't built on fairness or genuine care. Whether it's with friends, family members, or romantic partners, every healthy relationship is rooted in mutual giving and shared respect. If you constantly find yourself giving while the other person continually takes, with no sign of effort to reciprocate, then you're carrying the weight of an unbalanced and emotionally draining connection. Always remember, fulfilling relationships are based on mutual respect, equality, and heartfelt care. If someone only sees you as a resource to be used rather than a person to be valued, don't hesitate to establish firm boundaries or even step away entirely. Your life deserves to be surrounded by connections that offer joy, empathy, and sincere appreciation. Second, avoid people who frequently argue and expect you to take sides. Have you ever felt trapped in a relationship where every conversation seems to spiral into conflict? That's exactly what it feels like to deal with someone who constantly seeks out arguments. These individuals don't just stir up unnecessary drama, they also pull you into it, forcing you to choose a side in their personal battles. They bring turbulence into every interaction, draining not just their own energy, but also yours. I once had a friend who outwardly appeared confident, but whenever a disagreement came up, even over something small, he'd immediately escalate it into a full-blown argument. One time, during a casual gathering with friends while we were discussing travel plans, a minor difference of opinion arose. He suddenly turned to me and demanded that I back him up in front of everyone. That experience changed our friendship forever. I realized then that anyone who thrives on conflict and pressures others to align with them makes it impossible to maintain a peaceful or balanced relationship. Constant arguing doesn't indicate strength or intelligence. It's often a symptom of emotional immaturity and insecurity. People who argue for the sake of control or validation sabotage not only their relationships, but also their own personal development. A truly wise person doesn't feel the need to win every disagreement. They prioritize peace, understanding, and resolution. If you find yourself caught in endless cycles of conflict or regularly dragged into disputes that aren't yours to fight, take a moment to reflect. Cultivating calmness in your life protects your relationships and shields your inner peace. In the end, the most valuable treasures in life are not found in drama or debate, but in peaceful connections and a quiet, steady mind. Third, avoid people who dismiss or minimize the worries of others. In the journey of life, each of us carries our own distinct set of burdens, no two alike. The worries we bear, the joys we experience, and the sorrows we endure cannot be compared on any universal scale. Yet one of the most disheartening experiences in life is when we open up about our struggles, only to be met with people who not only downplay our pain, but also amplify their own as if theirs are more significant. This kind of reaction isn't just inconsiderate. It undermines trust and slowly eats away at the very foundation of any relationship. I remember a time when I shared with a longtime friend how overwhelmed I felt trying to balance work while caring for my aging parents. Rather than offering a moment of empathy or even a listening ear, he brushed aside my concerns and quickly shifted the conversation to talk about how stressed he was at work, as if my reality was invisible. That moment didn't just leave me disappointed, it left a deep emotional bruise. It taught me something crucial. Meaningful relationships can only thrive when both people make an effort to genuinely listen and value each other's challenges as much as they'd like their own to be acknowledged. True respect isn't found in grand, sweeping gestures. It lives in the smallest actions, thanking someone sincerely for their help or offering a heartfelt apology when you've caused pain. These simple words, when spoken with sincerity, go far beyond social niceties. They form the bedrock of strong and lasting human connections. It's important to step away from people who lack this kind of gratitude. If someone cannot celebrate your wins or empathize with your struggles, if they find amusement in your pain, that reveals not only a lack of compassion, but a deep, unsettling indifference. We may not have control over how others behave, but we do have control over who we allow into our inner circle. Choose relationships rooted in mutual respect, kindness, and sincerity. Keep company with those who rejoice in your happiness, comfort you in your grief, and genuinely wish you well. Taking joy in someone else's suffering doesn't just hurt them, it chips away at your own humanity. Living with empathy and compassion won't just help you build meaningful relationships, it will lead you to a life full of purpose and depth, a life truly worth living. Equally important is to steer clear of individuals who try to impose their religious or political beliefs on you. No two people are exactly the same, and that diversity is part of what makes human relationships so rich and meaningful. Real connection is not about forcing others to adopt your worldview, but about recognizing and appreciating differences while building common ground from them. Still, some people feel compelled to constantly push their beliefs on others, be it spiritual, ideological, or political. And this kind of behavior is not only draining, it can fracture relationships beyond repair. I once had a close friend who, with every conversation, felt the need to convince me that his way of life was the only right one. At first, I tried to engage in thoughtful discussions and defended my own beliefs, hoping for mutual understanding. But after each interaction, I found myself emotionally exhausted. Nothing changed. No progress was made. The debates became repetitive, more about ego than insight. And I eventually realized that these exchanges were only driving a wedge between us. Arguments rooted in the need to be right often do nothing but create distance and resentment. Even when you win such an argument, the sense of victory is fleeting and usually comes at the cost of another person's dignity. The most damaging consequence isn't the disagreement itself, but the subtle emotional wounds and the growing disconnect it causes. Truly wise individuals don't argue simply to be right. They listen, they empathize, and they understand when it's best to step back. Real success in a relationship isn't found in overpowering the other person's views. It's found in conquering your own pride to nurture mutual respect and harmony. Letting go of the need to always be right doesn't make you weak. It makes you peaceful. That's a reward no argument can ever give. If you've stayed with me this far, leave a comment below saying peacefulness. so I know you're on this journey with me. Together, let's keep learning, growing, and creating lives filled with meaning and emotional clarity. Finally, recognize when a friendship starts making you feel uneasy or drained. If being around someone consistently leaves you feeling distressed, it's time to reconsider that relationship. Sometimes the people who once brought you joy, laughter, and unforgettable memories begin to feel distant, not necessarily because you or they did something wrong, but simply because life has taken you both in different directions. Growth changes us. As we evolve, so do our interests, values, and perspectives. There was a story a colleague once shared about his childhood friend. They had spent countless cherished moments together, from going to the movies and playing sports to dreaming about their future. But over time, something shifted. Conversations began to feel forced. Meetings became more of a chore than a joy. What once flowed effortlessly now felt strained. That's not necessarily a tragedy. It's a natural part of life's rhythm. Not all relationships are meant to last forever. Some serve a beautiful purpose for a time and then quietly fade as we grow. Recognizing this isn't an act of betrayal. It's an act of self-respect. When a connection no longer brings peace, but instead brings anxiety or sadness, it's okay to let it go. Honor the good memories, but protect your present peace. Life is too short to keep holding on to relationships that no longer nourish your soul. I remember a story shared by a colleague. He spoke of a childhood friend, someone with whom he had created countless unforgettable memories, going to the movies together, playing sports, and imagining the futures they would one day build. But as time went on, life pulled them in different directions. One moved away to a new city, building a career and starting a family, while the other remained in their hometown, living a quieter, simpler life. Whenever they managed to reconnect, it just didn't feel the same. Their conversations became awkward, filled with polite small talk and a subtle undercurrent of unfamiliarity. My colleague admitted that he initially put in a lot of effort to keep the friendship alive, but the more he tried, the more he began to see that they had changed so much that the closeness they once had was no longer there. Eventually, he chose to step back, not because he stopped caring, but because he realized that letting go was the only respectful way to acknowledge the changes both of them had gone through. Relationships, he said, are like a dance. Both people need to move in sync for the connection to feel right. When the rhythm falls out of harmony, both dancers feel uncomfortable and tired. Rather than placing blame on himself or his friend, he chose to accept what had changed. Sometimes, stepping back is the wisest and kindest choice. It doesn't mean erasing someone from your story. It means allowing space for both people to continue growing, even if it's apart. A gentle goodbye can often be more healing than trying to force a bond that no longer fits. Life is a constant state of change, and relationships reflect that too. The key lies in knowing when to hold on and when it's time to move forward. Treasure the beautiful moments you've shared, but don't be afraid to let that relationship become a cherished memory. Sometimes, letting go isn't just an act of compassion for someone else, it's a sign of self-respect. There's also wisdom in steering clear of those who endlessly complain about themselves. Have you ever felt like an emotional trash can, the kind of person others come to just to unload all their sadness, frustrations, and constant negativity? Everyone needs someone to lean on now and then. We all go through difficult seasons. But there's a big difference between sharing from a place of mutual empathy and simply dumping emotions without care. I once had a friend named Sarah, a former colleague who I was once very close to. During a time when my mother became critically ill, I was overwhelmed, juggling the demands of work while being her primary caregiver. It was one of the most emotionally and physically exhausting times in my life. Yet Sarah came to me almost daily, not to offer comfort or check in on me, but to complain. She went on and on about how much she hated her job, how her boss treated her poorly, how her husband never helped her at home. And, despite my own state of distress, she never once asked how I was holding up. I tried gently to shift the conversation and express some of what I was going through, but she always found a way to redirect things back to herself. Each time I interacted with her, I walked away feeling emotionally depleted, and at times even guilty that I couldn't be more available for her. The final straw came shortly after my mother had undergone major surgery. Sarah called me, not to ask how things went, but to complain that I hadn't replied to her messages quickly enough. That was the moment I realized something had to change. I told her honestly, "Sarah, I can't do this anymore. I have too much on my plate, and I need the people around me to understand that and offer some support." There was a long silence. After that, the distance between us grew naturally. It hurt, but I knew it was necessary to protect my own well-being. Not every complaint needs to be voiced to others, and no one should be treated as an emotional dumping ground. If someone isn't truly looking for support or resolution, but merely offloading their pain onto you, it's okay to set boundaries. Learn to listen with intention, not obligation. Make room in your life for people who see your heart, not just your ears. True connection is built on mutual care, and sometimes the kindest thing you can do is to stop expecting others to be more than they are and start being gentler with yourself. Another type of person to avoid is someone who treats promises casually or breaks them without a second thought. Have you ever waited for someone who never arrived, offering only a weak excuse or no explanation at all? That moment when you realize you're not a priority to someone stings deeply. A promise isn't just words. It's a sign of respect, trust, and commitment. What's truly painful is when someone not only fails to follow through, but also seems to forget they ever made a commitment in the first place. That kind of carelessness doesn't just chip away at trust. It makes you feel like an afterthought, as though your time and feelings don't matter, as if our mind is desperately trying to convince us that what we lost was perfect, irreplaceable. But memory can be deceiving. Pain has a strange way of rewriting the past, polishing over the red flags, editing out the silence, the distance, the moments that made you feel small. This is one of the greatest emotional traps. Not the person themselves, but the idea of who they were. That's what we cling to. That's what keeps us stuck. You're not in love with them anymore. You're in love with the version of them that exists in your memory, carefully curated by a heart that doesn't want to let go. But Stoicism reminds us we must see things as they are, not as we wish them to be. Epictetus once said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." When we romanticize someone who hurt us, we are reacting from emotion, not from clarity. We are choosing illusion over truth. And every time we revisit that illusion, we pour energy into a ghost that cannot love you, cannot show up, cannot heal you. It's time to take the pedestal down, to stop idealizing someone who couldn't give you what you needed. Maybe they weren't bad. Maybe they were just unavailable or unaware or not ready for the kind of depth you brought. But either way, they left a scar. And pretending they didn't is not strength, it's denial. Think about this. If someone repeatedly made you feel anxious, unseen, or not enough, is it really love that you're missing? Or is it the comfort of familiarity, the fear of starting over, the longing for who you were when you were with them. You owe it to yourself to be honest here, because clarity isn't cruel, it's compassionate. This isn't about bitterness, it's about protection. When you stop romanticizing the past, you stop inviting it back into your heart. You start to see the full picture, the beauty, yes, but also the pain. And only when you see both can you truly let go. So the next time your mind drifts back to those moments, pause, ask yourself, am I remembering the truth, or am I creating a fantasy that keeps me stuck? Because healing doesn't mean forgetting. It means facing the past with open eyes and an open heart, and choosing yourself anyway. Let go of the story. Let go of the fantasy, and in that space begin writing something new, something real, something where you are no longer a second choice in your own life. 3. Create distance to regain clarity. When emotions are raw, proximity becomes poison. Staying too close to someone you're trying to let go of, whether physically, digitally, or emotionally, only deepens the wound. It's like trying to dry your clothes in the rain. You keep hoping for healing, but you're still standing in the very storm that soaked you. That's why the Stoics emphasized separation not just from people, but from the impulses and illusions that blur our judgment. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You must build up your life action by action, and be content if each one achieves its goal as far as possible." But you can't take action. You can't rebuild your strength if your mind is still orbiting around someone else's gravity. Emotional detachment doesn't begin with indifference. It begins with distance. Distance that clears the fog. Distance that allows you to see what was real, what was projection, and what was never truly aligned to begin with. This doesn't always mean blocking or disappearing, though sometimes that's necessary. It means drawing boundaries that protect your mental state. Stop checking their social media. Stop reading old texts like they're sacred scripture. Stop feeding the habit of wondering what they're doing, who they're with, or if they think about you. Because every time you do, you hand over a little more control, not to them, but to the version of them that lives rent-free in your mind. There's a kind of power that only returns when you reclaim your attention. And clarity is born from space. When you step back, you begin to see the dynamics clearly, the things you tolerated, the parts of yourself you lost in the process, and the way you settled just to feel needed. You start to remember who you were before the confusion. And more importantly, you begin to see who you could become after it. Think of your mind as a room. As long as that person is sitting in the center of it, there's no space for you to think, feel, or breathe freely. But when you open the windows, when you let the air of detachment in, the noise settles, the temperature cools, and for the first time you can hear yourself again. So ask yourself, what am I still holding on to that keeps me close to them? What would happen if I gave myself a week, a month, or even a day without their shadow hanging over me? The answers may scare you, but they will also liberate you. Detach, not because you don't care anymore, but because you finally care enough about yourself to create room for peace. Detach so you can return to yourself. Not the self they liked, not the self they broke, but the self you're meant to be. 4. Master your reactions, not their behavior. We spend so much time trying to decode the actions of others. Why did they pull away? Why did they change? Why are they so cold now when they used to be so warm? It becomes a full-time mental job trying to predict, analyze, and make sense of someone else's emotional weather. But here's the problem. The more you focus on them, the less you understand yourself. And that's the trap. That's where emotional attachment quietly feeds itself through your obsession with things you cannot control. The Stoics taught a radical yet liberating truth. It is not things that disturb us, but our judgment about them. You don't suffer because they moved on. You suffer because of what you tell yourself about their silence. You don't ache because they changed. You ache because you expected them not to. It's your interpretation, not their behavior, that cuts deepest. And here's where you reclaim your power, by mastering your reactions. When they ignore you, you don't chase. When they post something that feels like a dagger to your chest, you don't spiral. When their presence fades, you don't make it mean that your worth has faded too. Because their choices speak about them, not about you. Your reaction is where your freedom lives. And the moment you start choosing your response instead of reacting impulsively, you become untouchable. This doesn't mean you numb your emotions. It means you observe them. You give yourself the space between stimulus and response. You breathe through the trigger instead of becoming it. It's not easy, especially when love is still alive inside you, but it's essential because every emotional outburst, every overanalysis, every desperate message, it only feeds the very fire you're trying to extinguish. You don't need to change how they act. You only need to change how you interpret it. Imagine the strength that comes from someone treating you with indifference, and you still choosing dignity, from someone pulling away, and you still choosing self-respect. That is the Stoic response. That is the beginning of emotional maturity. And it's not just about them. This is training for life. Because people will always disappoint, shift, withdraw, surprise. If your peace is tied to their behavior, your peace will never be stable. But if your peace is built on your response, on your clarity, on your principles, then nothing and no one can truly take it from you. So next time you feel the pull to react, pause. Ask yourself, does this reaction honor the person I'm becoming? Or is it just trying to win the attention of someone who's already gone? The answer may hurt, but it will also free you. Let the world be what it is. Let people be who they are, but master yourself, and you'll never be a prisoner to their chaos again. 5. Redefine love as something you give, not something you chase. Most of us were taught to see love as something we get, something that comes from the outside, given by someone else, validated by their attention, their affection, their presence. So when that love is withdrawn, it feels like we've been emptied, like something essential to our identity has been taken away. But that idea, while common, is the very reason heartbreak feels like destruction. The truth is, love was never something you had to chase. It was something you carried all along within you. The Stoics didn't write much about romantic love in the way we think of it today, but their core philosophy touches something deeper. They taught that virtue, living with reason, integrity, and alignment, is the highest good, and love, real love, is virtuous. It doesn't demand, manipulate, or break you to feel whole. Love is something you express through your values, not something you beg for through someone else's approval. So what happens when you love someone who doesn't love you back? That's when your definition of love is tested. If love to you is a transaction, if it only exists when it's returned, then of course their distance will feel like a death sentence. But if love is something you give not to be repaid, but to remain in integrity with your heart, then even when it's not returned, it doesn't break you because you didn't lose anything. You simply offered something beautiful and they weren't able to hold it. Redefining love doesn't mean becoming cold or distant. It means loving without needing to possess. It means you can say, I care deeply. I showed up fully. I gave what I had to give. And now it's time to walk away with your dignity intact. Think about it this way. If your worth depends on being chosen by someone else, then your worth is always at risk. But if your worth is defined by how you choose to love with honesty, depth, and courage, then it remains untouchable, even in rejection. So many people stay stuck in emotional limbo, not because they're still in love, but because they never felt seen. They want that person to come back just to validate that their love mattered. But what if it already did? What if the fact that you loved with all your soul is already enough? What if the closure you're waiting for isn't a conversation, but a shift in your own understanding of what love truly is? Ask yourself, am I loving because I want to offer something real, or because I want to fill a space inside me that I believe only they can fill? That question might sting, but it reveals everything. Because the love you gave was not wasted. It was proof that your heart is alive, that you're capable of depth, of devotion, of something rare. That love made you more. And now it's time to give that love to the one person who actually needs it most. You. 6. Don't confuse pain with connection. It's one of the most dangerous illusions we fall into after a breakup. The idea that if it still hurts, it must still mean something. That the ache in your chest is a sign that the bond is unbreakable. That the pain is proof of depth, of love, of a story that isn't finished yet. But what if pain isn't a sign of connection, but a sign of resistance? What if it's not about them at all anymore, but about your own unwillingness to release the story you've been telling yourself? You see, the mind craves meaning. When someone we care about leaves, the brain scrambles to fill the gap. And because the silence is unbearable, we start to assign value to the pain. We make it sacred. We say things like, I still feel this way because what we had was real. But real love shouldn't trap you in suffering. Real connection doesn't survive on misery. If the only thing keeping them alive in your heart is your sadness, then that's not love. That's a wound. The Stoics taught us to look past surface emotions and observe the deeper mechanics. As Epictetus said, when something happens, the only thing in your power is your attitude toward it. You can either accept it or resent it. Pain is inevitable, but how we interpret that pain, how we build stories around it, that's where our freedom begins or ends. There are people who stay emotionally attached for years, not because the love is alive, but because the pain has become familiar. They've wrapped their identity around heartbreak. They start to fear who they'd be without it. That's not connection. That's captivity. It's emotional inertia. It's forgetting that you're allowed to feel something deeply and still let it go. So, here's a hard question. Are you still in love, or are you just addicted to the feeling of missing them? Because sometimes longing becomes a habit, and if you're not careful, you begin to equate sadness with significance. You begin to believe that moving on would somehow disrespect what you felt, but it's the opposite. Letting go isn't betrayal. It's the ultimate act of respect. Respect for yourself, respect for what was, respect for what deserves to come next. If the pain is still sharp, that's okay. That means you're human. But don't worship it. Don't feed it. Don't sit with it so long that it becomes your home. You are allowed to honor your feelings without letting them define your future. So, next time your chest tightens and your mind drifts back, ask yourself this. Is this real love, or just an echo of something I haven't fully released yet? The answer might not come right away, but just asking the question moves you closer to peace. And that peace, it's not the end of the connection. It's the beginning of a new one between you and your freedom. 7. Focus on who you're becoming, not who you've lost. After someone leaves, it's easy to feel like the story is over, like the chapter closed not just on a relationship, but on you, your joy, your direction, your sense of self. You don't just grieve them, you grieve the version of yourself that existed when they were by your side. And in that emotional fog, we make a quiet, unconscious mistake. We start living in reverse, looking back, remembering, comparing, wondering. But healing doesn't happen backwards. It begins the moment you shift your gaze from who walked away to who you're becoming now. Stoicism isn't about burying your emotions, it's about directing them. And that direction should always lead you closer to your values, your clarity, your evolution. Marcus Aurelius said, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." The same applies here. Don't spend your life wondering what the relationship could have been. Spend your life becoming the person who doesn't need it anymore. Pain has a strange way of showing us what truly matters. It humbles us, strips away our illusions, forces us to confront the parts of ourselves we overlooked while loving someone else. Maybe you abandoned your passions to keep them comfortable. Maybe you made yourself small to make space for them. Maybe you gave, and now you don't even remember what it feels like to receive. That's not your failure. That's your awakening. Because here's the truth. They may have left your life, but the lesson didn't. And that lesson is sacred. It holds the blueprint for the next version of you, wiser, stronger, more aware. But you can't meet that version while you're still chasing ghosts. So the question becomes, what will you build now that they're gone? Not out of revenge, not to prove anything, but because the time and energy you once gave to them now belongs to you. Start small, reconnect with your habits, revisit the goals you shelved while waiting for their attention. Read something that expands your mind. Move your body. Speak to yourself with the kindness you kept giving away. Day by day, these aren't just actions, they're declarations. They say, I'm not stuck in the past. I'm not defined by what I've lost. I'm building something better now from the inside out. It's okay to look back. It's okay to miss them. But don't stay there because your future is not behind you. And the person you're becoming, the one who made it through, who chose clarity over confusion, self-worth over chasing, that person deserves your full attention. Let their absence be the space where your growth begins. Let the silence become your canvas. And let your life speak, not in whispers of what was lost, but in loud, clear actions of who you are now becoming. 8. Protect your peace like it's your most valuable possession. When someone leaves your life, especially someone who meant everything, it's tempting to think the door is still open, that maybe, just maybe, they'll walk back in. So, we leave little cracks in our boundaries. We stay emotionally available. We check in on them. We keep one eye on their life, just in case. But here's the danger. Every time you leave that door unlocked, you invite chaos into the one place that should be sacred, your peace. The Stoics believed that peace wasn't something we find outside of ourselves. It's something we build, decision by decision, boundary by boundary. Seneca wrote, "No man is more unhappy than he who never faces adversity, for he is not permitted to prove himself." What he meant was, peace isn't passive. It's forged in the fire of what we allow, what we tolerate, and what we walk away from. So ask yourself, what am I still allowing that disrupts my peace? Maybe it's replaying old conversations in your mind. Maybe it's hoping for a message that never comes. Maybe it's checking their updates, their stories, their life, as if watching them live will help you feel alive again. But you know, it doesn't. It only deepens the wound. Protecting your peace means closing the emotional tabs they still occupy. It means choosing not to respond when they reach out just to check in. Not because you're bitter, but because you're healing. It means resisting the urge to prove your worth or to remind them of what they lost, because the more you try to get a reaction from them, the more you hand them the remote control to your emotional state. You have to stop letting someone who's no longer in your life control the volume of your thoughts. Imagine your peace as a fire you're building. Every thought, every choice, every new boundary, it adds warmth. But every time you let them back in without purpose, without clarity, it's like pouring cold water on the flames, and you wonder why it's so hard to feel steady again. Here's the truth. Your peace is not something anyone else will protect for you. It's your job. And that might mean silence. That might mean blocking. That might mean choosing solitude over drama. And yes, it might feel like loss at first, but in time you'll see it for what it is: self-respect. Peace isn't loud, it's not dramatic, but it's powerful. It allows you to breathe without waiting. It gives you back your mornings, your sleep, your joy. It reminds you that life can feel calm even if someone else isn't in it. So protect it fiercely, because in a world and in a mind full of noise, your peace is the one thing that cannot be bought, borrowed, or replaced. 9. Don't seek closure from someone who couldn't give you clarity. We all want that final conversation, that one moment where everything makes sense, where the other person suddenly explains why they changed, why they walked away, why they let go of something you were still holding on to. It's human. We think that if we can just understand, the pain will disappear. But here's the Stoic truth. Closure is rarely given. It's created within you, not through them. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You always own the option of having no opinion. There is never a need to get worked up or to trouble your soul. And that includes getting worked up over explanations that may never come." Some people left not because you weren't enough, but because they couldn't face their own chaos. Some people changed without warning because they were never honest with themselves to begin with. And some simply faded, not with cruelty, but with cowardice. Waiting for closure from people who lack emotional depth is like waiting for stillness in a storm. If they couldn't give you honesty when they were close, what makes you think they'll offer clarity now that they're gone? You don't need their words to move on. What you need is a decision to stop needing permission to heal, to stop hoping they'll tie up the emotional loose ends they left behind. Because the truth is, even if you had that final talk, would it really change anything? Would it erase the months of silence, the unanswered texts, the moments you begged for presence and received distance instead? More often than not, closure is not about answers. It's about acceptance. It's about realizing that what they did or didn't do is a reflection of them, not a measure of your worth. It's about stepping back far enough to see that love shouldn't be confusing or manipulative, or so fragile that it breaks without a word. It's about reclaiming your narrative, not as someone who was abandoned, but as someone who chose to rise when no one came to lift them. You may never know why they pulled away. You may never know what was real and what was performance. But you do know what it felt like. You do know how your body tensed when they were around. You do know how it felt to wait, to wonder, to try harder while they gave less. That knowing is enough. It's not poetic. It's not wrapped in closure. but it's truth. And truth, no matter how simple, is all you need to begin again. So let go of the script. Let go of the perfect ending. You don't need their apology to forgive. You don't need their confession to let go. You don't even need their memory to move forward. What you need is to finally tell yourself, I didn't get closure, but I got wisdom, I got strength, I got me back. 10. Choose freedom over fantasy. There comes a point where you have to ask yourself a hard question. Am I holding on to this person or to the story I created about them? Because sometimes we don't stay attached because the relationship was great, but because the fantasy felt better than facing the truth. We cling not to who they are, but to who we hoped they'd become, to who we needed them to be. But hope without reality becomes a prison. And if you're not careful, you'll spend years trying to relive something that never truly existed in the first place. The Stoics would tell you, reality is your ally, illusion is your enemy. Marcus Aurelius urged himself daily to live in accordance with nature, with how things are, not how he wished they were. That's what emotional detachment requires. The courage to look your fantasy in the eye and let it go. To accept that they weren't ready, that they didn't show up, that their silence spoke louder than any apology ever could. Freedom is not found in waiting. It's found in release. You have to understand, when you live in fantasy, you put your life on pause. You wait for texts that won't come. You reimagine conversations that never happened. You dream of a version of them that only lives in your mind. But life, real life, is happening without you. While you sit frozen in longing, your future is knocking, and you can't hear it over the noise of your own illusions. Choosing freedom doesn't mean the pain disappears overnight. It means you finally decide that your reality, with all its sadness, all its healing, all its truth, is better than a perfect lie. It means you accept the ending, even without the fairy tale. It means you choose presence over possibility. So ask yourself, what has this fantasy cost me? How many nights of peace? How many mornings of clarity? How much confidence have I lost chasing someone who wasn't even looking back? And more importantly, what could I be creating, becoming, building if I finally let go? You are not here to live in what if. You're here to live in what is and to build something beautiful from it. That begins the moment you stop asking whether they'll come back and start asking what your life looks like without needing them to. Because real love, the kind that's aligned, reciprocal, and empowering, never needs to be chased. And the longer you hold space for someone who's already gone, the more you delay the arrival of the person, the peace and the power that's meant for you. So choose freedom, choose clarity, choose yourself, and walk forward. Not with bitterness, not with regret, but with quiet strength. You let go, not because you stopped caring. You let go because you finally remembered what you deserve. Letting go doesn't mean erasing the past. It doesn't mean pretending you were never hurt or acting like you never loved. It means choosing peace over chaos. It means standing in the middle of your pain and still deciding, I deserve better than this confusion. It means honoring what was and releasing what no longer serves who you are becoming. The wisdom of the Stoics was never about suppressing emotion. It was about directing it, channeling it into something greater, into growth, into strength, into stillness, and most of all, into freedom. Because at the end of the day, the real test isn't whether someone loved you back. The real test is whether you can still love yourself after they didn't. So if you're listening to this today, still hurting, still wondering, still quietly hoping for a message or a miracle, I want to remind you, you are not broken. You are becoming, Every time you choose clarity over illusion, presence over longing, truth over fantasy, you're not just moving on, you're rising. This is your turning point. Not when they come back, but when you do. Finally, we tie all this up with Stoic principles for inner peace. What if I told you that your peace has never been in other people's hands? Not in what they say, not in what they do, not even in how much they try to hurt you. The truth is, no one has ever truly made you angry. They've only revealed where you haven't healed. Most people spend their lives reacting, emotional puppets pulled by strings they refuse to see. One comment ruins their day. One betrayal breaks their spirit. One misunderstanding turns into a war. But it doesn't have to be that way. The Stoics believed that real strength isn't about being untouchable. It's about being unshaken. Your calm isn't supposed to be this fragile thing constantly at the mercy of other people's moods, opinions, or mistakes. It's supposed to be rooted in reason, in clarity, in the part of you that can step back, breathe, and choose how to respond, not just how to react. The world will test you. That's a given. But whether you get pulled into its chaos, that's your choice. Anger isn't what you think it is. Let's talk about anger, not the kind that erupts in fire and fury, but the quieter kind. The kind that simmers when someone lets you down or crosses a line you thought was obvious. The kind that sits in your chest and whispers, "How could they?" We often think our anger is about them, the person who was rude, disrespectful, careless. But here's the twist. More often than not, it's not about them at all. It's about the story you were telling yourself. The silent expectation you had that the other person didn't even know they were supposed to meet. See, anger shows up when reality doesn't match the mental script you were holding. You expected someone to be more thoughtful. You expected loyalty or gratitude or a simple thank you. And when you didn't get it, your mind screams, "This isn't how it's supposed to go." But who said how it's supposed to go? Did the other person agree to your terms? Did they even know what your terms were? Carl Jung once said, "Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves." That hits hard because what if your anger isn't just a reaction, but a mirror? What if it's showing you something unresolved inside you, something worth exploring rather than suppressing or exploding over? Stoicism teaches us to challenge our assumptions. So if someone else's behavior makes you mad, the Stoic response isn't to lash out. It's to pause, to trace that anger back to its root, to ask, what was I hoping for that didn't happen? What belief just got threatened? Let's make this real. Your friend cancels on you again and you're fuming. Not because of the cancellation itself, but because somewhere in your mind there's a belief. People who care about me follow through. They don't flake. And maybe that belief comes from past letdowns, maybe from a place where you felt unimportant or forgotten. That's not weakness, it's human. But the key is recognizing that the anger isn't about this one cancelled plan, it's about a deeper wound being touched. Socrates once said, "The unexamined life is not worth living." And when it comes to emotion, especially anger, examining it is where the wisdom lives. Instead of reacting blindly, you start asking, why did this bother me so much? Why this and why now? And just like that, you go from being controlled by your emotions to learning from them. Aristotle believed that anyone can become angry. That's easy. But to be angry with the right person at the right time, for the right reason, and in the right way, that's the hard part. That's the art. That's emotional maturity. So here's a simple practice. When you feel that rise of frustration, instead of clenching your jaw or firing off a text, Take a moment. Ask yourself, what expectation just got violated? And why was I so attached to it? You'll be surprised how often that single question can dissolve the intensity. Anger isn't your enemy, it's your compass, but only if you're willing to read it right. Silence is a power move. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is nothing at all. That might sound counterintuitive in a world that celebrates the loudest voice, the sharpest comeback, the most viral clapback. We've been taught that silence means weakness, that if you don't speak up immediately, you're letting someone walk all over you. But what if that's not true? What if in many cases, silence isn't surrender, it's self-control? Let's be honest. Most of us have said something in the heat of the moment that we wish we could take back. A sentence we fired off without thinking, a text we sent in anger, a comment that burned a bridge. But how often do we truly regret pausing? Rarely. Silence almost never haunts you, but angry words, they echo. The Stoics were big on this. Seneca, one of the most quoted Stoic philosophers, said, "Anger, if not restrained, is frequently more hurtful to us than the injury that provokes it." And he was right. When we react instantly, we're not responding from wisdom. We're reacting from impulse, and impulses are rarely wise. Think of silence not as passivity, but as power under control. That moment when someone disrespects you, challenges you, throws shade, your immediate instinct might be to fight back. But if you can resist that urge and pause instead, something incredible happens. You start to see the situation clearly. You separate your ego from your values. You give yourself time to choose your response instead of becoming a slave to your emotions. When someone gets under your skin, it's not always about them. Sometimes it's a sign that there's something inside you that needs attention, and silence, just a few seconds of it, gives you the space to notice that. Plato taught that a wise man speaks because he has something to say, a fool because he has to say something. Let that sink in. You don't always need to have the last word. In fact, when you choose not to engage in every little battle, you conserve your energy for things that truly matter. Silence becomes a filter. It lets nonsense pass while you remain steady. And no, this isn't about bottling things up or suppressing emotion. It's about choosing your timing, choosing your tone, choosing your moment. The pause between stimulus and response, that's where your power lives. So next time you feel the fire rising, pause. Count to 5. Let them talk. Let them dig their hole if they must. Your job isn't to correct every offense. Your job is to protect your peace. As Epictetus once put it, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. And sometimes the strongest reaction is none at all. Silence isn't weakness. It's wisdom in motion. Laugh at the ridiculous stuff. There's something strange that happens when you stop taking life so seriously. Not in the careless, avoid your problems kind of way, but in the grounded, I'm not letting this nonsense steal my peace kind of way. Life throws curveballs daily. A rude driver, a passive-aggressive comment at work, a plan that gets derailed for the 3rd time this week. And yet we act shocked every time, like we expect the world to suddenly behave. But here's a truth the Stoics knew well. Suffering increases when you demand that reality be different than it is. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it." And what better way to challenge that estimate than with a laugh? Because here's the thing, laughter isn't weakness, it's resistance. It's your soul refusing to be shaped by pettiness. It's the calm refusal to let small things become big burdens. When you laugh, you're not pretending the problem doesn't exist. You're just making it clear that it doesn't get to define your emotional state. Aristotle once said that laughter is a trait unique to humans. That tells you something. It's not just a social reflex. It's a tool, one we can use to cut through tension, to shrink problems down to their actual size, and to remind ourselves, this moment isn't everything. Think about it. Someone cuts you off in traffic. You can slam the horn, yell into the void, replay it for hours, or you can exhale and smile like, yep, there it is, chaos doing its thing. Same moment, totally different energy. The first keeps you tense and reactive. The second keeps you human. Carl Jung offered a perspective that adds another layer here. He said, even a happy life cannot be without a measure of darkness, and the word happy would lose its meaning if it were not balanced by sadness. The message? Expect some mess, and when it arrives, choose how to meet it. Plato believed that comedy and tragedy were two sides of the same coin, and you see that in daily life. One moment you're frustrated, step back 5 feet, and suddenly it's funny. It's ridiculous. It's just life doing what life does. The real challenge is choosing your response. Not everything deserves your outrage. Not every hiccup needs a meltdown. Sometimes the most stoic move isn't silence or discipline. It's lightness. It's perspective. It's that quiet smile that says, I see the chaos and I choose peace anyway. So here's your new reflex. When something dumb happens, before you react, grin, even if it's just a flicker, even if you're still annoyed. Let that grin remind you, you're bigger than the moment. You're not here to be tossed around by every little thing. You're here to move through life with grace. And sometimes that grace starts with a laugh. Think long game, not instant wins. There's a quiet kind of strength in walking away from a fight you know you could win. Not because you're afraid, not because you don't have the right words or the sharper edge, but because deep down you know peace is more valuable than proving a point. The real flex isn't dominating the argument. It's not needing to. Think about it. How many times have you won an argument only to sit with that weird, empty feeling afterward? Maybe you were right. Maybe you made your case perfectly, but instead of feeling victorious, you felt agitated, heavy, maybe even a little guilty. That's because the goal wasn't truth. It was control. And control rarely brings peace. The Stoics had a word for this, apatheia. Not apathy in the modern sense, but a state of inner calm that isn't thrown off by other people's chaos. Marcus Aurelius, who ruled an empire surrounded by conflict, wrote, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury." In other words, don't lower yourself to meet someone in their mess. Rise above it. When someone triggers us, it's rarely just about them. It's about what that conflict stirs up in us. Our need to be seen, to be heard, to be right. But here's the thing. Not every trigger deserves a response. Some just need to be observed. Plato believed that self-mastery was the highest form of freedom, and that includes mastering your reactions. If you always need to have the last word, you're not free. You're hooked. You're on a leash, pulled by anyone who knows how to push your buttons. But when you choose peace over pride, you become unshakable. This doesn't mean you let people walk all over you. This isn't about being passive or avoiding hard conversations. It's about discernment. It's about asking yourself in the moment, is this conversation worth my energy, or is it just noise? Because energy is a currency, and once it's spent, you don't get it back. Socrates famously said, "Strong minds discuss ideas. Average minds discuss events. Weak minds discuss people." So when the conversation starts sliding into gossip, accusation, or ego-driven drama, consider whether it's worth participating in at all. Zoom out. Ask yourself, what kind of life am I trying to build? Who am I becoming in this moment? Because the truth is, you can win the argument and still lose the connection, still lose your composure, still lose yourself. So maybe the real win is knowing when to speak and when to stay silent, when to defend your truth and when to simply walk away with your dignity intact. Not everything is worth a reaction. Save your energy for the moments that actually shape your future. Let the rest go. Turn emotional control into a game. There's a kind of quiet pride in staying unbothered, not in a fake, I don't care kind of way, but in the deeply intentional way that says, I choose peace over pettiness. Because, let's face it, life throws plenty of reasons to react. People cut in line, someone talks down to you, a message gets left unread. But what if you flip the script and turn those moments into training reps for your mind? That's where the Stoics were ahead of their time. They didn't aim to feel nothing. They aimed to master everything. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher emperor, once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. So, if someone's attitude ruins your day, it's not really their fault. It's a sign your inner world needs work. Now, here's a new way to approach it. Make calm a game. Seriously. Start counting how many times today you could have reacted and didn't. That's your scoreboard. Someone cuts you off in traffic? You breathe. Let it go. Boom. Point on the board. Someone gives you a snarky comment? You smile and stay cool. Another win. It turns emotional self-control from a chore into a challenge. And something weird happens when you gamify it. You start looking forward to opportunities to stay grounded. You begin to notice how much control you actually have. Aristotle once said, "What it lies in our power to do, it lies in our power not to do." That applies perfectly here. You can always speak, you can always fire back. But it's the moments when you don't, when you choose not to react, that build character. That's self-mastery. That's how mental strength is formed. Carl Jung added another layer when he said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." Think about that. Every time you snap without thinking, you're being led by habits you haven't challenged. But when you pause, reflect, and respond with intention, you're rewiring your patterns. And let's be clear, this isn't about suppressing how you feel. That's not healthy or sustainable. It's about becoming so aware of your emotions that you know how to guide them instead of being guided by them. You're not pushing them down, you're lifting yourself above them. Plato taught that the first and best victory is to conquer yourself. That victory doesn't happen once, it happens dozens of times a day. In the comments you ignore, in the gossip you don't spread, in the thoughts you question before they become actions. So try it. Track your calm like a high score. Each moment you stay grounded is proof you're leveling up. It won't be perfect, but every time you choose not to react, you're proving to yourself that you're not here to be easily shaken. You're here to lead yourself, and that's the real game worth playing. Accept life is not as you want. There's this exhausting thing we do, most of us without even realizing it. We build mental scripts for how other people should behave. We expect our friends to always show up. We expect our partner to never hurt us. We expect our boss to lead with fairness and reason. And then when they don't follow that script, when they go off course, we feel disappointed, confused, even betrayed. But here's the part we don't always admit. The script was ours. We just forgot to tell them they were in a play we wrote. Philosopher Epictetus, one of the core voices of Stoicism, had a simple truth. Some things are up to us and some are not. That's it. That's the line. And it's a hard pill to swallow until you realize how much peace is hidden inside that awareness. Because the moment you stop expecting people to be different than they are and start focusing on how you show up in response, you reclaim your sanity. You suffer less when you stop arguing with reality. You stop waking up every day waiting for people to get it, for life to suddenly make sense, for the unfairness to correct itself. Plato once said, "Reality is created by the mind. We can change our reality by changing our mind." And that's what Stoicism encourages, a shift in perception, not perfection from the world around you. Carl Jung added depth to this idea when he wrote, "We cannot change anything until we accept it." Think about that. The longer you resist what is, the longer it owns you. The boss stays unfair, the friend keeps flaking, the relationship doesn't evolve. And every time you give your emotional energy to the same loop. Why are they like this? That question never brings clarity. It just drains you. Instead, ask the question the Stoics asked. What is in my control right now? Not, can I make them change? But, can I control how much space I give them in my mind? Can I control my reaction? Can I control whether I let their behavior dictate my peace? Socrates taught that the secret of change is to focus all your energy not on fighting the old, but on building the new. That includes your mindset. When you stop demanding that others behave in a way that comforts you, you become less reactive, less disappointed, and more grounded. You start living in reality, not in the fantasy version of how you wish things were. Acceptance isn't giving up, it's leveling up. It's saying, I see what this is. I don't love it, but I won't let it own me. Once you stop needing everyone around you to act right for you to feel right, you begin to feel a new kind of freedom, a calm that isn't dependent on conditions, a peace that isn't borrowed, it's built, and that's where your real power begins. Stop taking everything personally. We're wired to take things personally. It's almost automatic. Someone doesn't text back. A coworker gives a cold stare. A friend pulls away without explanation. And our minds jump straight to self-blame. Did I say something wrong? Are they mad at me? Did I mess up? But here's the thing. Most of the time, it's not about you at all. The truth is, people carry whole worlds inside them. Unseen stress, insecurities, distractions, pain. And sometimes you just happen to be standing close when those things leak out. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor, said, "When you wake up in the morning, tell yourself, the people I deal with today will be meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly." That wasn't pessimism. It was preparation. He understood that most people act from their own noise, not out of personal attack. So why take their behavior so personally? When someone's actions sting, that's often a signal pointing back to something inside us. Maybe an old wound, maybe a need for validation. But the mistake is thinking it's always a reflection of your worth. It's not. Plato taught that we see the world not as it is, but as we are. Our filters, shaped by past experiences and emotional states, can twist a neutral event into something that feels deeply personal. So when someone snaps at you, your reaction might be more about how you interpret it than what they actually meant. That's why the Stoic practice of distinguishing appearances from reality is so powerful. You pause. You look again. You say, "What else could this mean?" Think of it like this. You're not the center of everyone's story, and that's not a bad thing. It's actually freeing, because it means you don't have to carry their energy. You don't have to fix their moods. You don't have to own their reactions. Aristotle said, "To avoid criticism, say nothing, do nothing, be nothing." But even that wouldn't guarantee peace, because people will still project their inner chaos onto you. So, what do? You create space, emotional distance, enough room to say, "Maybe this isn't mine to hold." You remind yourself over and over, if needed, "What if this isn't even about me?" That single thought can be a shield, soft but strong. Socrates believed that wisdom begins in knowing how little we actually know, and that includes knowing why people behave the way they do. So stop filling in their silence with self-blame. Stop interpreting every weird mood as a reflection of your flaws. You are not responsible for the storm someone else is fighting. You're only responsible for not letting it drag you under. That's Stoic strength, responding with clarity, not confusion. Holding your center even when others lose theirs, and realizing that sometimes the kindest thing you can do for yourself is not to take it personally. Anger doesn't fix things. There's something addictive about anger. In the moment, it feels like armor. You feel sharp, alert, ready to strike. Your heart's pounding, your words get faster, louder. It feels like power, like control. But then the dust settles, and what's left? Regret, distance, that awkward silence after something's been said that can't be unsaid, broken trust that might never fully heal. Anger is a master of disguise. It shows up dressed like strength, but deep down it's often just fear or pain looking for an exit. It tells you that exploding is the only way to be heard, but really it's the easiest way to lose your ground. Anger is like that friend who hypes you up to throw hands and then disappears the second real consequences arrive, and you're left cleaning up the mess alone. The Stoics knew this well. When you react in anger, you might win the moment, but lose the relationship, lose the respect, lose your peace. That discomfort, that urge to snap, it's often a flare from your own inner world pointing to wounds or unmet needs. And if you can pause just long enough to examine it, you open the door to something far more powerful than anger: awareness. Plato believed that true courage is knowing what not to fear, and sometimes what we fear most is looking weak. We think that staying calm is surrendering power, when in reality it's the highest form of control. The person who can stay centered when everything around them is spinning, that's not weakness, that's strength with roots. The Stoic view of fire was this: use it wisely. Let it warm, not scorch. That means channeling the energy anger brings into something productive. Let it fuel a boundary, not a blow-up. Let it sharpen your clarity, not your tongue. Let it push you to act, but not to attack. Aristotle once said, "Anybody can become angry. That is easy. But to be angry with the right person, to the right degree, at the right time, for the right purpose, and in the right way, that is not within everybody's power and is not easy." That's emotional discipline. That's choosing your response instead of being owned by it. So next time the fire rises, pause. Not because you're scared to speak, but because you respect yourself enough not to burn everything down. You can be assertive without being aggressive. You can be clear without being cruel. You can stand your ground and still walk away with grace. Because real power doesn't come from yelling louder. It comes from staying calm longer. Let it go. There's a quiet weight we carry when we hold on to pain. not the pain itself that comes and goes, but the story we attach to it, the grudge, the resentment, the replaying of what someone said, what they did, what they never apologized for. And every time you think about it, you feel that sting again. The same hurt, just recycled through memory. It's exhausting. Here's the hard truth. The person who hurt you probably isn't thinking about it anymore. They've moved on. They're living their life, sipping coffee, scrolling through their phone, unaware that they still live rent-free in your mind. Meanwhile, you're carrying around their words like a fresh wound. But it's not fresh. It's old. It's scar tissue you keep picking at. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor, wrote, "The best revenge is to be unlike your enemy." In other words, don't let someone else's cruelty turn you into a prisoner of your own bitterness. Don't let their behavior dictate your inner world. That's not justice. That's surrendering your peace. Carl Jung once said, "I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become." That's the shift. Letting go isn't about erasing the past. It's about refusing to let it define you. It's saying, yes, this hurt. Yes, it changed me, but I won't let it shape who I am moving forward. You take back authorship of your own story. Aristotle believed that we are what we repeatedly do. So if you rehearse resentment, if you practice bitterness, you become shaped by that energy. It becomes your emotional baseline. But you can choose to interrupt that cycle. You can choose to practice something else. Forgiveness. Not for them, but for yourself. Plato taught that the soul is harmed more by injustice committed than injustice received. When you hold a grudge, when you fantasize about getting even or proving your worth, you're prolonging your own suffering. You're tethering your peace to someone who may never make it right. So try this, just once. Say it out loud. This happened. It hurt, but it's over. Not because you're okay with it, not because it was fair, but because you're done letting it hold you hostage. Say it for your sanity, not their sympathy. Letting go doesn't mean forgetting. It doesn't mean what they did was acceptable. It means you're done reliving it. You're done bleeding for someone else's wound. You're finally choosing to stop carrying something that no longer serves your growth. The Stoics didn't aim to become cold or indifferent. They aimed to live wisely, to let go of what they couldn't control, to stay grounded in the present, not dragged backward by the past. So maybe the real strength isn't in holding on. Maybe it's in saying, I've carried this long enough. Now I'm setting it down. And then walking forward, lighter, freer, wiser. You're not here to fix everyone. One of the quickest ways to lose your peace is trying to manage everyone else's life. It sounds noble at first, wanting to help, to guide, to protect the people you care about. But somewhere along the way, it shifts. That helpfulness becomes control. And suddenly, your mood is tied to their decisions, your energy is spent chasing their change, and your sanity is hanging on whether or not they get it. It's a losing game. Here's the truth. You can't control people. Not your partner, not your kids, not your parents. You can't control your friends, your co-workers, or that one relative who refuses to listen no matter how many times you repeat yourself. Influence? Sure. Inspire? Absolutely. But control? That was never yours to hold. The Stoics were crystal clear about this. Epictetus, one of their great teachers, said, "Some things are in our control and others not." The problem is we forget which is which. We think if we just say it the right way, if we just care hard enough, people will change. But change doesn't happen on your timeline. It happens on theirs, if it happens at all. Carl Jung offered a powerful insight when he said, "Knowing your own darkness is the best method for dealing with the darkness of other people. Instead of trying to fix everyone else, start with yourself. Are you modeling the calm, clarity, and compassion you wish they had? Are you showing, not telling, what growth actually looks like?" Socrates believed that true wisdom was knowing how little we truly know, and that applies doubly when it comes to other people's paths. You don't know what they need to learn or when they need to learn it, and trying to force the lesson on them often pushes them further away. Think about it. Have you ever wanted to listen to someone who constantly hovered over your choices? Probably not. Aristotle said, "The ultimate value of life depends upon awareness and the power of contemplation rather than upon mere survival." That awareness begins with recognizing your limits. You can offer insight, sure. You can extend patience. You can hold space. But the moment your peace hinges on their progress, you're in dangerous territory. You've handed them the keys to your emotional house. So what's your real job? It's not to micromanage grown folks. It's to lead by example, to stay steady, to show kindness without controlling, to give advice without expecting obedience, to release people from the unspoken contract that says, "You must change so I can be okay." Let them walk their path, even if it looks messy, even if you wouldn't take that route yourself, because that freedom you give them, it also frees you. And in that space, you both get to grow, not through force, but through choice, through presence, through trust. That's real leadership. That's Stoic strength. And it's the path that actually brings peace, not just for them, but for you too. Catch the story you're telling yourself. It's wild how quickly the mind fills in the blanks. Something small happens. Someone forgets to reply to a message, interrupts you mid-sentence, or gives you a weird look. And within seconds, your brain has built an entire story around it. A story where you're the one who's overlooked, disrespected, or never quite enough. And before you even realize what's happening, you're not just reacting to what happened. You're reacting to the story you told yourself about what happened. That's where the Stoics bring us back to center. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself often, "You don't have to turn this into something. It doesn't have to upset you." That line is deceptively simple, but it's everything. It reminds us that there's always a choice between the stimulus and the story we create around it. We can jump straight into assumptions, or we can pause and examine the narrative we're spinning. Carl Jung had a similar insight when he said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." In other words, unless you start questioning the stories you've absorbed, maybe from childhood, past relationships, or even societal messaging, you'll keep reacting the same way and blaming the outside world for it. Here's where the ACD method comes in. Awareness, control, direction. First, awareness. Catch the moment your body tightens, your chest gets hot, or your mind starts racing. That's the signal. Instead of letting it sweep you away, pause, notice it. Second, control. This doesn't mean pushing the feeling down. It means slowing your response. It means taking a breath, counting to 5, or simply saying, "Wait, what's really going on here?" And finally, direction. This is where the real power lies. You choose a better, more grounded interpretation. Maybe they didn't ignore you. They just didn't see the message. Maybe that criticism wasn't meant to hurt. It was just blunt. Maybe this isn't a personal attack. It's just life being messy, as it always is. Socrates taught that the unexamined life is not worth living. And that's what this is about, examining the meaning we assign to things before letting those meanings rule our emotions. Because most of the time, it's not the situation that upsets us. It's the story we tell ourselves about the situation. Aristotle said that wisdom begins in wonder. So wonder, even when you're triggered. Wonder if the story is real or just familiar. Wonder if this is a chance to react the way you always have, or the way you wish you could. You can't always control what happens, but you can absolutely rewrite the script your mind runs with. And the more you practice it, the more you become the author of your response, not a character tossed around by your reactions. That's not just emotional intelligence, that's Stoic mastery. Solve more, argue less. Let's be honest. Most of us don't walk into an argument looking for clarity. We walk in looking for a win. Somewhere deep inside, there's that quiet voice saying, "I need to be right." And that's where the trouble begins. Because once ego takes the wheel, the actual problem becomes a background prop. The conversation turns into a battle of pride, not a search for understanding. Socrates believed that dialogue, real, open, thoughtful dialogue, was the foundation of wisdom. But how often do we actually have those kinds of conversations? Too often, we're not listening to understand. We're listening to reload, crafting our comeback while the other person is still talking. That's not communication. That's combat. The Stoics warned about this tendency. Epictetus said, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak." Simple but powerful, especially when tensions rise. In heated moments, the most radical thing you can do is stay calm, not passive. Calm. There's a difference. That sting you feel during an argument, it's often less about what was said and more about what got touched inside you. Insecurity, fear, old wounds. If you can pause long enough to see that, you stop reacting and start responding. Now, imagine approaching an argument with a different goal. Not to win, but to resolve. Not to dominate, but to connect. What changes? Try this next time. Lower your voice. There's a natural instinct to raise it when we feel threatened, but a calm voice disarms tension. It changes the energy in the room. It signals, "I'm here to talk, not to attack." Then ask better questions. Instead of, "How could you say that?" Try, "What made you feel that way?" Instead of, "What's your problem?" Try, "What are you really trying to say?" Questions like that open space, not just in the conversation, but in the other person's mind. Aristotle believed that true wisdom lies in knowing when to speak and when to stay silent. In arguments, that wisdom shows up in your ability to pause, to say, "Help me understand," not sarcastically, genuinely. Those words can take the heat out of almost any conflict. And here's the thing. When everyone else is reactive, the calmest person becomes the anchor. They don't just calm themselves, they calm the room. People look to them because composure is magnetic. Strength that doesn't shout is rare, and rare things lead. So next time you find yourself in a conflict, don't aim to win the argument. Aim to keep your integrity. Aim to steer the room, not by force, but by presence. That's how leaders move. That's how Stoics think. That's how real change starts. Your body knows before you do. Sometimes your body knows the storm is coming before your mind does. You're sitting there trying to focus, and suddenly your jaw is tight, your chest feels heavy, your breath shortens. And then, almost like clockwork, something small sets you off. But if we're being honest, it wasn't that one comment or that little delay. The trigger was just the last drop. The tension had been building long before, and your body tried to warn you. Modern psychology backs this up. Carl Jung once said, "The body is the unconscious mind." That tight chest, that knot in your stomach, those clenched fists, they're not random. They're messages, signals that something in your inner world is trying to get your attention. And most of us, we don't listen. We push it down. We distract ourselves. We stay busy until, boom, one small thing turns into a full-blown explosion. And then we're left wondering, where did that come from? The Stoics understood this pattern even before we had terms like fight or flight. Epictetus taught that we are disturbed not by things, but by the views we take of them. But how can we adjust our view when we're already spiraling? That's where bodily awareness comes in. When you notice tension early, you get a chance to stop the spiral before it takes over. Socrates believed that the secret to change is to focus all of your energy not on fighting the old, but on building the new. Learning to tune into your body is one way to build that new. It means catching the signal before it becomes a scream. It means seeing the clenched jaw as a whisper, not a failure. Here's a practical way to start. Next time you feel that inner squeeze, pause. Don't react, just notice. Breathe in deeply through your nose, hold for a second, and exhale slowly. Then ask yourself, what am I really reacting to? Not what just happened, but what it's hitting inside you. Is it rejection? Is it fear? Is it an old wound getting poked? Plato said, "The body is the vessel of the soul." And if that's true, then learning to listen to your body is learning to understand your deeper self. It's not weakness, it's wisdom. It's how you become less reactive, more responsive, less chaotic, more composed. The world will keep testing you. People will keep saying things, doing things, forgetting things. But if you can stay tuned into your inner signals, if you can respond to your body like it's your teammate, not your enemy, you start moving through life with a kind of quiet strength that people feel without you saying a word. Your body is an early warning system. Don't ignore it. Respect it. Work with it. That's not just emotional intelligence, that's Stoic resilience, built from the inside out. Protect your attention. Every day your attention is up for grabs, and not just from ads or notifications, but from people. People who want a reaction, people who push your buttons, test your patience, pull at your energy. Some do it with good intentions, others not so much. The internet troll who leaves a snarky comment, that coworker who thrives on drama, the ex who reappears just to see if they still have access. They all want something from you, even if it's just your emotional presence. But here's something the Stoics understood deeply. Not everyone deserves your reaction. Not every voice deserves your energy. And one of the most overlooked ways to protect that power, being selective about where you place your attention. Carl Jung once wrote, "What you resist persists," meaning the more you engage with things that drain you, out of anger, out of pride, out of habit, the more those things grow in your mind. That one negative comment turns into an inner dialogue. That petty co-worker consumes your day. That message from your ex, it reopens wounds you were finally starting to heal, and you wonder why you feel exhausted, scattered, frustrated. But it's not just what's happening around you. It's what you're choosing to give your energy to. Socrates believed that the key to a meaningful life was not in knowing many things, but in knowing which things matter. That's the filter you need. Before you respond, before you even notice something, ask yourself, Does this deserve me? That's a powerful shift. Instead of reacting to everything, you start curating your mental space like it's your most valuable property. Because it is. Aristotle taught that the mark of an educated mind is to entertain a thought without accepting it. You can see the drama, hear the insult, witness the chaos, and still not take it personally. You can let it pass. You can scroll by, not out of indifference, but out of discipline. Because here's the truth, your attention is currency. And if you spend it on nonsense, you go broke where it actually matters, on peace, on clarity, on creativity, on joy. Every response you give to something that doesn't deserve you is energy you've taken away from what does. So protect it, guard it like it's gold, because it is. The more you master your attention, the more you master your life. You become less reactive, more focused, more intentional, and slowly, without even announcing it, you step into the kind of calm that people notice but can't quite explain. You don't owe your presence to everyone who demands it, especially not the ones who haven't earned it. Let them scroll by, let them fade, and keep your eyes and your energy on the life you're building, not the noise trying to pull you away from it. That's Stoic living, quiet, clear, unbothered. Gratitude, instant peace. Sometimes the smallest shift in perspective can change everything. One thought, one moment of awareness, and suddenly the emotional storm loses its grip. That's the quiet power of gratitude. It's not flashy, it doesn't yell, but it has this almost magical ability to calm the chaos within. Now think about this for a second. You can't be genuinely angry and genuinely grateful at the same time. Try it. Anger says, "This isn't fair." Gratitude says, "But I still have something." It's like trying to walk in two directions at once. You can't do both. And that's why gratitude is the ultimate reset button. The Stoics understood this in their own way. Marcus Aurelius, even as emperor dealing with betrayal, war, and illness, wrote, "Don't hanker after what you don't have. Instead, think of the blessings you do have and how much you'd miss them if they were gone." That's not just a nice idea. It's a strategy, especially when your emotions start running the show. Carl Jung pointed out that no tree, it is said, can grow to heaven unless its roots reach down to hell. Gratitude doesn't mean pretending everything's fine when it's not. It means acknowledging the darkness and still seeing light. It's the act of anchoring yourself in what's real, not just what's wrong. Plato taught that the soul becomes wise through reflection. And what is gratitude if not reflection in motion? It takes you out of the spinning story in your head and brings you back to the present, to what's still good, still true, still yours. And when you do that, even in the middle of a mess, you give your nervous system a break. You soften. You breathe again. So here's a practical challenge. Next time you feel that heat in your chest, that tension in your jaw, that urge to lash out, pause and name 3 things you're grateful for right there in the moment. Not big things, just real things. Maybe it's the roof over your head. Maybe it's the friend who checks in. Maybe it's the fact that you have the self-awareness to even pause. Socrates believed that contentment was found not by adding more to life, but by subtracting false desires. Gratitude does exactly that. It strips away the should-haves and why-me's and gets you back to what's real and enough. And from that place, you respond better. You think clearer. You move with intention instead of impulse. Anger narrows your world. Gratitude opens it. Anger sees the problem. Gratitude sees the full picture. It doesn't fix everything, but it helps you see clearly enough to make a better next move. That's the cheat code, not because it avoids reality, but because it roots you in a better one. So no, gratitude won't erase the problem, but it will give you the clarity to stop being consumed by it. And sometimes that clarity is all you need to turn the moment around, quietly, powerfully, stoically. Your peace was never about the noise around you. It was always about the strength within you. And every time you choose clarity over chaos, presence over reaction, you're not just surviving, you're becoming. The Stoics knew that real power doesn't come from controlling the world around you. It comes from mastering the world within you. When you stop being at the mercy of other people's moods, when you stop taking everything personally, when you learn to pause before you react, you discover something profound. You are far more in control than you ever realized. This isn't about becoming cold or indifferent. It's about becoming wise. It's about recognizing that your emotional state is your responsibility, not everyone else's. It's about understanding that peace isn't something you find. It's something you build moment by moment, choice by choice. The world will keep testing you. That's guaranteed. People will disappoint you. Plans will fall through. Life will be messy and unfair and unpredictable. But now you have tools. You have perspective. You have the understanding that your calm doesn't depend on perfect conditions. It depends on how you meet imperfect ones. So when the world pulls, return to your center. When emotions rise, remember your training. When chaos calls, choose peace anyway. That's not just philosophy. That's how you reclaim your power. That's how you live like a Stoic. That's how you become unshakable.